He was famous as a useless rich kid spending every day partying in brothels. Then he accidentally awakened a divine skill just by touching. He could infinitely copy other people's abilities. Possessing 2 supernatural abilities was already considered genius. Jing Yim met him and acted like a father beating his son. A few days ago, a massive meteorite fell. The Lam family was already troubled, and now even more so. Outsiders might think they were showing off buying a huge ornamental rockery. Lam Tu woke up when he heard the young master being called. Opening his eyes, he saw the bodyguard's face and immediately reacted by kicking him in the groin. He panicked and asked who he was and why he was in his house. The bodyguard, in pain and confused, said, "Young master, don't you recognize me? I'm Tondai-luk, your personal bodyguard." Lam Tu still didn't understand the situation. He ran outside to check and became even more confused when he saw everything around him was completely unfamiliar. He stood there stunned, causing everyone around to look at him strangely. Isn't this young master Lam Tu I heard last night he was hit on the head by a meteorite? Now he looks as dazed as a cow wearing a bow. What confused Lam Tu even more was seeing a person flying in front of him like superheroes in sci-fi movies. Tondai-luk kept calling him, but Lam Tu lay on the ground mumbling that it was just a dream. After a while, when Lam Tu was sitting bored, Tondai-luk suggested he stand up because sitting on the ground would be very cold. Lam Tu reached out and touched Dai-luk's hand and immediately felt an electric current run through his body. The system inside him activated, announcing that he had successfully copied Dai-luk's ability. Lam Tu was so shocked he gaped in amazement. He squeezed Dai-luk's hand tightly and told him not to move. However, this action made Dai-luk feel strange and embarrassed. He shyly asked, "Young master, why are you holding my hand so tightly?" After successfully copying the ability, Lam Tu could crush a rock with just a light squeeze of his hand. He thought to himself, could this power be the supernatural ability that Tondai-luk mentioned earlier? When I grabbed his hand, I copied his ability. It's amazing. I need to find someone to verify this right away. Tondai-luk said there was a girl at Pham Huang Pavilion who could understand animal languages. I have to go see her. Without hesitation, Lam Tu immediately went to Pham Huang Pavilion, where beautiful and seductive girls gathered. When he arrived, the girls warmly greeted him. "Young master, do you want something bold, pure, sweet, or spicy? We can fulfill any desire." However, Lam Tu paid no attention to these invitations. He threw down a bag of money and requested to be taken to the girl who understands the language of animals. Tondai-luk tried to stop him, reminding Lam Tu that he was already betrothed, and if his family found out, he would be in big trouble. But Lam Tu ignored all warnings and insisted on going inside. The girl Lam Tu was looking for was named Hai Duong. Among the girls at Pham Huang Pavilion, she stood out with delicate and gentle beauty. When she met Lam Tu, she greeted softly, "I heard the young master specifically sought me out." "Is there something you need?" Hai Duong replied straightforwardly. Lam Tu pointed to the bird and asked if she understood what it was saying. After a few chirps from the bird, Hai Duong confirmed it was praising Lam Tu's handsomeness. Lam Tu thought over her words and found them accurate, believing even more that she truly understood animal languages. Thinking so, he grabbed Hai Duong's hand, his eyes turning strange, deciding not to be polite anymore. But no matter how much Hai Duong tried to pull away, Lam Tu held her hand tightly, his eyes showing excitement because now he was sure he could restore others' abilities. This process reached 99%, almost complete. Suddenly, someone rushed in and kicked him to the ground, causing the process to fail, blocked right at the doorstep of heaven. Lam Tu angrily shouted, "Who dares ruin my good plan?" The person he was yelling at was Lin Am, a girl with a strong appearance unlike delicate and gentle noble ladies. Looking at Lam Tu, she thought, if this is going to be my fiancé, he's not worthy. She told Lam Tu to come with her. Lam Tu still didn't understand what was going on. He yelled, "Who do you think you are to tell me what to do? Why should I listen to you?" He was still annoyed because the restoration process was almost successful but got interrupted. Lin didn't say much. Seeing you resist, she immediately kicked you, telling you to stop pretending. Under her oppression, Lam Tu could only scream for help from Tondai-luk. "Where the heck have you been?" In broad daylight, forcibly taking a good family's son, Master Lam Tu screamed excessively. Lin knocked him unconscious and said, "If you weren't my future husband, I wouldn't bother managing you." At Lum residence, Tondai-luk saw Lam Tu seemed about to wake, so he came closer and whispered. As soon as he opened his eyes, Lam Tu panicked and kicked wildly, making his butt crack loudly. He didn't understand why his butt was in such a state, nor how he got home. Tondai-luk explained that 2 young ladies had carried him home, and that his butt was kicked by one of them. Lam Tu angrily scolded Tondai-luk. "Are you really my bodyguard? You just blinked while I got beaten by that tigress." Dai-luk defended himself, saying he couldn't fight her because she had a rare supernatural ability, and besides, you and her sister have a betrothal. Hearing about the betrothal, Lam-tu was completely clueless, and asked again, betrothal to whom? Who exactly is she? Dai-luk explained. Young master, do you really not remember anything? She is Triu Lin the second young lady of the Triu family, and her older sister is Triu Lin Kwon. You've had a betrothal since childhood. This news shocked Lam-tu, freezing him in place. Immediately, he couldn't believe a playboy like himself was forced into marriage which he couldn't accept. He held his face, thinking of ways to break the betrothal, determined not to let it affect his future free life. Feeling down, Lam-tu suddenly sensed something strange on his hand. Then he asked Dai-luk if it was true that Triu Lin really carried him home. Observing the energy on his hand, Lam-tu felt lucky, because at first he only intended to restore the beast language. Unexpectedly, amid misfortune, he restored an ice supernatural ability. This time he was in for a big surprise. Lam-tu realized that physical contact could restore supernatural abilities. That's what he thought. Dai-luk knew Lam-tu was referring to the Supernatural Institute, but in his and everyone else's eyes, Lam-tu wasn't qualified to go there. Everyone thought he hadn't awakened any supernatural ability yet. Moreover, he was past the age to enter the Supernatural Institute. However, Lam-tu did not give up hope. His heart was full of determination to find a way into the Supernatural Institute to restore more supernatural abilities in this world. Fists are the true principle. The more skills, the better. Still have to visit Famhung once more. Even if his sister-in-law beats him, so be it. Soon Lam-tu arrived at Famhung Cat, hand in hand with Haidung. By now, he had restored 99% of his supernatural abilities. This action caused Haidung to misunderstand. She then shared her past. She was originally from Jiangnin Prefecture. Her family was poor since childhood. Her parents sold her off. After many changes, she finally came here. Lam-tu comforted her, saying the past is behind. Haidung Miss should look ahead. Hearing this, Haidung composed a poem, body like withered flowers and broken willows, deeply buried in the mud. What's there to say about the future? At that moment, Lam-tu finished restoring. Before leaving, he said a few encouraging words. The way of the world changes unpredictably. Even a young girl like you can bear great responsibilities. Clean or dirty all depends on the heart, not on appearances. Lam-tu's words seemed to touch Haidung's heart, but immediately after, he suddenly let go of her hand. He stood up and said, I have to go now. Haidung felt Lam-tu was different from those who only desired her body. She blushed and said, Young master is right, I will try to save up. Later I'll do some proper small business. When Lam-tu left, the bird beside him chirped, chip chip. This time Lam-tu understood its meaning. Hey, little young master is about to leave. Smile at me one last time. He smiled back. Not only that, Lam-tu also said later when Haidung Miss becomes the madam, I will visit often. Leaving Famhung Cat, Lam-tu felt full of vitality. He thought Haidung Miss was also unlucky. Taking her supernatural ability later, he would have to treat her well, feeling refreshed. But after a short while, Lam-tu suddenly felt a chill down his spine. It turns out Triu Lin was staring at him intently. Her gaze radiated a fierce aura that made anyone who saw it tremble in fear. The result was just like last time. Lam-tu was beaten by Triu Lin until his mouth was twisted. She didn't allow him to go to the blue building, even though Lam-tu said he was going on official business. Triu Lin threatened, if this happens again, I will ask father to cancel your engagement. And sister, for me, this is a good thing for Lam-tu. He was even more relieved. While facing Triu Lin he sensed the spiritual energy on himself. He then asked, have you cultivated martial arts? Lam-tu didn't bother to answer and only cared about the engagement cancellation. He said choosing a day is no match for bumping into one. How about we cancel the engagement today right away? This statement made Triu Lin furious. She swung her hand to hit while scolding, how dare you mention canceling the engagement? Sister here, where am I not worthy of you? Do you want to get beaten? Just as he was about to get hit, Lam-tu quickly blocked Triu Lin strike. Not only that, he used a special freezing technique on her hands. This surprised her greatly. She asked, have you awakened a special technique already? Lam-tu didn't dare to look directly, only glanced away. He couldn't admit that he had restored her freezing special technique. Just one question made him pale, as if all the blood drained from his face. Contrary to Lam-tu's expectations, Triu Lin smiled brightly with excitement. She said, if you have awakened a special technique, then strive to cultivate it. And if I catch you wandering in the blue building again, I'll break your legs. Although her words weren't meant as a threat, Lam-tu felt they were truly terrifying. Her sudden smile scared him even more than her rage. Then Trio Lin happily left, leaving Lum Tu in a state of confusion. He wondered why he had awakened a special technique and why she seemed so happy. When Lum Tu got home, Dai Luk immediately hugged him tightly, crying miserably, and informed him that the master and mistress had returned. These two were Lum Tu's parents, or more accurately, the parents of the original owner. Seeing this as a good chance to pretend he had amnesia, Lum Tu feigned confusion and asked, "Who are these two?" Seeing her son not recognize her, his mother was shocked and panicked. She thought Lum Tu had brain swelling. Dai Luk immediately knelt down to take the blame. "Master and mistress, it is my fault for not protecting the young master well." Lum Tu's father was even more shocked when Dai Luk said that he had been hit by a meteor and awakened the Ice Heaven Stage special technique. However, his parents didn't pay much attention to this matter. They only wished for their child's safety. His mother handed him a bowl of soup affectionately and said, "Drink quickly, Tunyi." His father also reminded him, "We don't expect you to be more talented than others. Just be safe. I have found you a clerical job at Thansu Tea, so you don't have to worry about life." Lum Tu obediently hugged the bowl his mother gave and listened to his father's advice. He felt very moved. He wondered if this was the family he never had in his previous life. Tears welled up in his eyes. He drank the bowl dry in one breath, but still felt regretful because these two were Lum Tu's parents, not his own. Then his parents continued, "Son, we have thought carefully about the engagement." His mother sincerely said now the Lum family and the True family are worlds apart. They are hesitant about this engagement, afraid that Lum Tu wouldn't accept it, but unexpectedly you agreed immediately. "I think so too. The True family is beyond our reach. Instead of waiting, it's better to cancel the engagement early." Actually, the main reason was that he was too afraid of Trio Lin. He didn't want to be beaten by her anymore. This reaction of Lum Tu surprised his parents greatly. They froze for a moment before continuing. "It's good that you think this way. I will immediately find you a wife from a respectable family. Hurry up and get married soon." His mother was also excited. Yes. Quickly, so I can hold my grandchild." Hearing the mention of marriage, Lum Tu immediately ran off. He said he was only 18 and didn't want to be shackled yet. What he wanted to focus on most right now was how to improve his special technique. Lum Tu was thinking when suddenly a woman carrying a heavy water bucket walked by. Lum Tu immediately ran over to help because he felt he had surplus strength after awakening his special ability. At that moment, he heard a familiar voice calling his name. Realizing it was Trio Lin Lum Tu, immediately broke into a sweat, hiding behind the woman, wondering why she came. Was it to attack him? But this time, she only came to tell Lum Tu to follow her to the Special Ability Institute. The director showed regret, saying it would have been better if Lum Tu had awakened his special ability earlier. But since he promised Lin Am, he couldn't go back on his word. He gave Lum Tu some tools and instructed him that from now on, he was a student of the Special Ability Institute and must strive to contribute his strength for the country. Lum Tu's training would be guided by Trio Lin who also promised to teach him thoroughly. Thus, Lum Tu's wish to enter the Special Ability Institute came true, unexpectedly fulfilled by his sister-in-law for her brother-in-law. Lum Tu's admission to the Special Ability Institute caused everyone to talk non-stop. It was rare that even the useless son of Bin Anba could awaken a special ability. Seeing Miss Lin Am treat him so well, could it be that the Trio family had truly accepted him? Lum Tu was lost in imagining another scenario where Trio Lin An would give him money and ask him to stay away from her sister. He had always wanted to experience freeloading once, and surprisingly, it became reality here. He could annul the engagement and also enter the Special Ability Institute. Lum Tu felt his sister-in-law was truly amazing. Suddenly, Trio Lin An apologized to Lum Tu, admitting that what happened before was her fault. Lum Tu thought she was apologizing for canceling the engagement, so he comfortably said it was okay, understanding that a proud woman like her sister letting go of everyone was normal. However, things didn't go as he expected. Lin An affirmed that the Tro family's promise was priceless, and no matter what happened, the engagement would still be maintained. This was completely unexpected to Lum Tu, making him feel like he had the wrong script in hand. Truling An not only didn't cancel the engagement, but was more determined than ever. Ignoring Lum Tu's shocked expression, Lin An continued, "Although your special ability awakened late, you're smart. Not everyone can be a dark horse." This made Lum Tu puzzled. He didn't expect her to be comforting him. Teacher Lum Tu was frozen. Lin An angrily punched the wall, cracking it, and shouted loudly, "Your sister has awakened 5 times already. To be worthy of her, you must train hard." If you dare be lazy, I'll send you back to your ancestors immediately. 2 days later, at the Lam Mansion, Lam Tu began his training. He realized that every time he awakened his special ability, not only did his strength increase, but new skills were unlocked. The key to awakening was accumulating enough original energy. After a tiring training session, Lam Tu muttered from a book that the fastest way to practice a special ability was to train in the corresponding environment, practicing ice special ability in hot weather. 2 days of progress was slight. When he accidentally touched a tea kettle, he found it shattered. Without applying force to test, he tried lifting the table and realized he could lift it easily. Lam Tu concluded that even when training an ice special ability, the power of the special ability force also increased. Training one type also boosted other abilities. Proudly thinking this, Lam Tu felt no one could beat him. Just then, Trio Lin An appeared and asked him to take off his shirt. Lam Tu blushed, saying, "I'm still a gentleman and you're my sister-in-law. It's not appropriate like this." Before he finished speaking, Lin An used her special ability to tear off Lam Tu's shirt, revealing his skinny body. An hour later, Lin An seriously said, "Your performance isn't bad, I'll come again tomorrow." Her face was flushed, then she quickly left. Lam Tu was exhausted, but still dragged himself out to see her off. Seeing this, Ton Dai Luke whispered to Lam Tu, "Young master, you don't seriously want to take both sisters, do you?" Lam Tu punched him and said, "Don't talk nonsense. My sister-in-law is here to help me train. Your mind is too dirty." "So the two young ladies treat the young master well," Dai Luke said. "Do you think everyone is like you? Every time I'm in danger, you run fastest, hehe. Honestly, you can't beat the two young ladies. Running is the best survival strategy." Then Lam Tu told Dai Luke to come with him to Than Lai Ti tomorrow. He felt he couldn't just sit around doing nothing anymore. At least he had to go take up his post. The next day, Lam Tu and Dai Luke arrived at Than Lai Ti. After taking a look around, Lam Tu found the environment quite decent, and it was also an iron rice bowl position under Bin An Ba. For an ordinary young man, this was definitely worth the effort. At Than Lai Ti, a case was unfolding. The family members were crying bitterly, begging the magistrate to judge fairly for their daughter. Hearing this, Magistrate Chi Fu immediately questioned Tan Thong. "Someone saw Vuong Thi entering your residence yesterday, and today she was found hanging dead there. Do you have anything to explain? She took money from me yesterday and voluntarily came to serve in the residence. She died in the house today. How does that concern me? My daughter has always kept herself pure. How could she do such a thing with him? Please, sir, clear my daughter's name." People outside whispered about Tan Thong. He was the son of Ba Tan Vo Nyat Dong. Poor old Vuong, how can a commoner win a lawsuit against someone with power and influence? After just a few questions, Magistrate Chi Huyen quickly concluded the case was unrelated to Tan Thong and declared the case closed. At that moment, Lam Tu spoke up. Vuong Thi did not hang herself. If she did, her feet would be dangling freely, but her legs are stiff and pointing upward, proving she was dead before being hanged. Moreover, people who hang themselves usually show a blue or purple face and tongue. Lam Tu's analysis surprised everyone, and many concluded that she was murdered, not a suicide. The scene was chaotic, and Magistrate Tri Fu had to declare again that there were many doubts about the case. Tan Thong was temporarily detained and the trial postponed. Tan Thong appeared very confident, believing the magistrate would clear his name. Old Vuong was deeply grateful. Lam Tu repeatedly bowed in thanks for clearing his daughter's name. An hour later, at the Occult Institute, Tan Thong was released and sought out Lam Tu for revenge. "Son of Bin An Ba Lam Din, you sure know a lot. Thanks to you, I was detained for 2 hours. Is breaking 2 of your ribs too much?" Lam Tu was scared and sweating, asking, "What do you want to do here at the Occult Institute? No fighting allowed." Tan Thong sneered. "This is outside the Institute. That rule doesn't apply here." He used occult powers to attack Lam Tu, but before he could act, his legs were frozen solid, unable to move. The one who did this was Trio Lin Am. Tan Thong shamelessly cited the no-fighting rule inside the Institute, demanding Lin Am release him. Trio Lin Am mocked. "Oh, no fighting inside the Institute, huh? But this is outside the Occult Institute. Have you lost your mind?" After saying that, she kicked Tan Thong hard, causing him to spit blood. The kick was like a nuclear warhead, creating a cloud of dust and sending Tan Thong flying tens of meters away. Trio Lin Am warned, "This is just a warning this time. You won't be so lucky next time." Tan Thong bitterly threatened that Lam Tu would meet his master again. Lam Tu was curious about Tan Thong's abilities. Trio Lin Am explained, "It's just Earth-level occult power. When you awaken again, he won't be your match." This incident only strengthened Lam Tu's determination to become stronger. In this world, strength is everything, And maybe he could even have a hero-saving beauty story. Since he had already come to this world, he might as well have some legendary tale to pass down. It was late at night. Lam Tu was so absorbed in reading that he lost track of time. He felt his knowledge of occult powers was still too limited and needed to catch up before classes started. The dog suddenly barked continuously. Thanks to previously restoring the power from Miss Hai Duong, Lam Tu understood what it meant. This person who's been hiding in the alley, what was he really up to? A dart shot out from the dark alley. Ton Dai Luke quickly used his body to block the attack meant for Lam Tu. The attacker wielding a sword charged directly at Dai Luke, but luckily he dodged in time. This was probably the first time Lam Tu faced such a situation, causing him to panic and not know how to respond. He just grabbed Dai Luke's hand and urged him to leave quickly. However, the attacker was not willing to let them escape so easily and continued to attack relentlessly. Seeing this, Dai Luke told Lam Tu to go ahead while he stayed behind to cover their retreat. As the enemy's sword blade touched Dai Luke, he immediately activated his muscle occult power. His flesh bulged and became as hard as steel, causing the enemy's sword to shatter wherever it struck. The result was a crushing defeat for the opponent in the blink of an eye. Dai Luke defeated him, which amazed Lam Tu. He couldn't help but ask again to confirm, "Is it really over?" "That's right, it's done," Dai Luke said proudly with a smile. That's all he has been dealt with. But that smile quickly faded when Dai Luke suddenly collapsed unconscious. The cause was poison from a dart. At this time, Dai Luke was brought back to the Lam residence and was waiting for the imperial physician to arrive for treatment. Lam Tu's father asked him, "Son, do you remember if you've offended anyone recently?" Lam Tu immediately thought of Tan Thong. At that moment, the imperial physician arrived, a girl named Bok Song Song, assigned to treat Dai Luke. After examining him, she smiled reassuringly at Lam Tu. "Don't worry, he's not on death's door yet." Then began the treatment process. Her method was very simple, using a mystical technique. A clear blue light slowly emitted and dissolved the poison inside Dai Luke's body. Before leaving, she advised Lam Tu to let him rest for a few days, assuring him he would be fine. After seeing Bok Song Song off, Lam Tu stood lost in thought, feeling that mystical healing was truly useful and decided to find a way to replicate it. While deep in thought, suddenly Trio Lin Am appeared, startling him. Lam Tu hurriedly explained, "Yesterday I was assassinated and Ton Dai Luke was poisoned while saving me. Miss Bok is the imperial physician brought in to treat him. I only escorted her out, nothing else happened. I know I just came to make sure you are safe." Mentioning the assassination, Lam Tu asked Lin Am if Tan Thong was behind it. Lin Am disagreed, saying assassinating a noble is a serious crime and a small grudge between two people wouldn't be enough to involve Tan Thong. If it wasn't Tan Thong, Lam Tu considered another possibility, that it could be an enemy from before he transmigrated into this world. At Tan's mansion, Tan Thong angrily stepped into the room muttering, "Lam Tu, just wait." His face was covered with bruises. Upon entering, he found a masked person waiting. Before he could react, that person threw a dart splattering blood across the room. Tan Thong was taken out in an instant. The next day, looking at Tan Thong's corpse, Lam Tu thought to himself, "He really does what he says, we met again so quickly." After thinking, Lam Tu suspected Lin Am was the culprit, believing she harmed Tan Thong out of anger at him. Lin Am also suspected Lam Tu, thinking he hired an assassin to eliminate Tan Thong. After examining the body, the examiner concluded the time of death was last night, caused by a single fatal slash across the throat. The district chief appeared and declared, "Your suspicions have been ruled out. This case was definitely caused by that female assassin." According to him, that woman had committed many similar crimes. Lam Tu was curious, and the guard explained she was a female assassin who awakened a stealth mystic art, allowing her to move without leaving any trace. Each assassination left a few flower petals on the corpse. Hearing about the stealth mystic art, Lam Tu thought of Aha and secretly hoped to replicate this mystic technique. The district guessed that the Wang family's case attracted the female assassin's attention, which is why she broke into the Tan mansion late at night. Lam Tu found the female assassin's actions truly chivalrous. He almost called her a knight in front of the district chief. Fortunately, he swallowed his words in time. Then he asked the district chief why she targeted Tan Thong. Yesterday, a thief voluntarily came forward reporting that when he broke into the house, he saw Tan Thong's face full of malice and accidentally killed him. This female assassin specialized in killing corrupt nobles who escaped punishment. Hearing this, Lam Tu exclaimed it was a pity for the Wang family. The deceased had to suffer wrongful accusations even after death. Since this case involved mystic arts, the district chief decided to hand it over to the Mystic Arts Institute for handling. Knowing Lam Tu was the one who stood up to defend old Wang, everyone's attention turned to him. The old man handed Lam Tu a bag of dried sweet potatoes, thanking him for speaking up for his daughter. "These sweet potatoes I dried myself. I hope you won't mind, sir." Not only that, another person brought a basket of freshly steamed buns, urging Lam Tu to eat them while hot. The gift was overwhelming, and Lam Tu didn't know how to accept it. Seeing him hesitate, the person said, "My wife and I have run a stall on this street for over 15 years. Raising a daughter wasn't easy, and it's humiliating that she was assassinated. You're the only one who spoke up for her, sir. Please accept these buns." Lam Tu had no choice but to accept, but he couldn't eat them all, so he shared them with two soldiers, telling them to return the steamer after distributing. Then Trio Lin said, "Lam Tu, actually, you are a good person." These words made Lam Tu feel like he had received a good person card. He smiled and said to Lin "I used to give out good person cards to others, now I'm receiving one myself." Lin didn't understand his meaning, but Lam Tu just smiled and continued walking. Lam Tu heard the dog say it was starving, hadn't eaten for 3 days, and that if it had some grilled chicken drumsticks, that would be great. Immediately, the dog smelled the grilled chicken drumstick in front of it. Before it could tell if it was real or a hallucination, a large chicken drumstick was stuffed into its mouth. The feeling of happiness made it wag its tail non-stop. Lam Tu happily petted it, saying, "Good dog, if you follow me, I guarantee you won't go hungry. Seeing this, you're destined to be with me. I will call you Huang Bo Lap Cat." Lin asked to confirm that Lam Tu wanted to keep the dog. Lam Tu said, "This is the dog that saved my life. It barked to warn me the night I was assassinated." Lam Tu's real intention was to use the animal language ability to gather information. If successful, it would be very effective for clearing the city. The appearance of many steamed buns made the prefect very curious. A soldier explained, "The street stall is giving them away, thanking Lord Lum for clearing the charges against Mrs. Vung." The prefect thought for a moment and then ordered the assassin of Mrs. Vung to be brought in. Someone questioned Tan Thong is dead. Why bother with more trouble? The prefect said deal with the self-confessed assassin so Trung Dung Ba has an explanation. Although Tan Thong is gone, Mrs. Vung's innocence cannot be restored. Seeing the Justice Alliance sign made the prefect think even more. At this time, Lam Tu was concentrating on cultivating his special skill. Lin beside him instructed, "She told you to stop cultivating for today. Cultivation shouldn't be greedy. Rushing shortens the long term. You've done very well today." As soon as he heard that, Lam Tu flopped onto the bed, tired and complaining. He said, "Cultivating special skills is so exhausting. My stomach is on strike already." Lin reminded Lam Tu to try to rest and said she would come back to visit in a few days. After saying this, she quickly left. After Lin left, Lam Tu's mother brought in a basket of food. She had asked Dai Luke and learned that cultivating special skills consumed a lot of energy, so she prepared some late-night food to nourish him. At this time, Lam Tu still felt shy and told his mother there was no need to go to such trouble. But when he saw the dishes on the table, he couldn't resist and started eating heartily, continuously praising and thanking his mother. Seeing her son eat well, she felt happy and said that if he wanted anything, just tell her and she would cook it. Hearing this, Lam Tu was moved to tears. He thought about the past when he only ate takeout or instant noodles, occasionally meeting friends to eat out. After 2 lifetimes, this was the first time he got to enjoy a meal cooked by his own mother. He happily said, "I know, Mom." In the Lum residence's living room, Ton Dai Luk, though recently injured, was still diligently lifting weights. Lam Tu saw this and asked, "Why don't you rest on the bed? The imperial physician already told you need plenty of rest." However, Dai Luk felt his wound had healed and lying around made him restless. Lam Tu firmly told him to listen to the imperial physician this time. Without his parents inviting the physician, his life would really be in danger. Hearing this, Dai Luk proudly said, "Protecting the young master is my responsibility. As long as the young master is safe, my sacrifice is worth it." Speaking of this, Lam Tu felt annoyed because every time he was beaten by Trio Lin Dai Luk was always the first to run away. Still, Dai Luk explained he knew Lin wouldn't really harm Lam Tu, so he didn't interfere. While talking, the two heard the old master and madam discussing outside in the yard. They calculated that there wasn't much silver left in the household and they couldn't support so many servants. They had now decided to give some servants a small amount of money so they could find other ways to support themselves. The list of household servants included the gatekeeper, Lao Quinn, housekeeper, maids, and workers. Their wages were 2 coins a day for 3 meals. Dai Luk, however, had no pay for 5 meals a day. Lam Tu looked at the list, surprised that his family employed so many people. When the two of them pleaded to stay, Lam Tu felt this was what a real family looked like. He thought that being hit by a meteor was not a punishment but a blessing from above. Dad, under the scorching 40-degree sun, Lam Tu and Dai Luk were walking on the street drenched in sweat. Lam Tu seriously said, "Without money, you can't do anything. You have to find a way to solve the livelihood problem." Seeing the two standing under the sun, a passerby muttered, "Are these two crazy walking under such strong sunlight?" The other suggested going to Pham Huang Pavilion to find some fun. Hearing that, the first one scolded back, "Is he stupid? All the ice in Vuongdo is used up. Pham Huang Pavilion is like a steaming cage, no reaction at all." Lam Tu heard the entire conversation between the two friends, and what interested him most was the shortage of ice. Immediately an idea flashed in his mind. At the restaurant, an employee was frustrated by the sweltering heat. He wondered when this uncomfortable weather would finally end. Just then Lam Tu appeared. Seeing him, the employee eagerly asked, "What would you like to order?" Lam Tu took a sip of tea and said, "I'm not here to eat, but to meet your manager to discuss business." As soon as he finished speaking, the teacup in his hand froze, and even the table was covered with a layer of cold ice. Meeting the manager, Lam Tu proposed using his water well for 10 silver taels per day. The manager showed enthusiasm. Apparently, the young master knew this year's weather was hot, and ice was scarce in Vuongdo, and even with money it was hard to buy. With the young master's ability, making a lot of money isn't difficult. 10 taels is probably too low. At least 50 taels would be reasonable. Lam Tu immediately raised the offer to 40 taels, surprising the manager, but then he realized he had misunderstood Lam Tu's intention. At first, he thought Lam Tu wanted to borrow the well from Trich Nguyen Lao and even expected him to pay, but actually Lam Tu wanted the manager to pay him. Seeing the manager hesitate, Lam Tu turned away and threatened to partner with Phio Huang Lao. Hearing this, the manager hurried to call him back and agreed to the price of 10 silver taels per day. But Lam Tu didn't easily accept. He raised 5 fingers and said the manager already knew this year's weather was very hot and ice was scarce. "With my ability, making a lot of money isn't hard. 10 taels is too low. At least 50 taels would be reasonable." The manager had no choice but to accept, understanding that keeping Lam Tu at Trich Nguyen Lao was a good deal even at 50 taels per day. He even proposed exclusivity, requiring Lam Tu not to supply ice to any other place. Lam Tu didn't back down either, setting the condition that if exclusivity was wanted, the manager had to pay an even higher price. Finally, both sides agreed on 50 silver taels per day, plus 5 times the market price for each barrel of ice. But when the contract was signed, Lam Tu immediately received 300 silver taels. Holding the money in his hand, he felt extremely satisfied, but reminded that the weather would turn cold and the silver would gradually decrease. Just then, Trio Lin Am appeared, startling Lam Tu. He asked sister-in-law, "Aren't you following me?" Lin Am didn't answer, but asked back, "Are you short on money?" Lam Tu hugged the money box tightly and said, "This is obvious. Why are you asking?" Lin Am held out a bag of money and asked how much he needed. This action made Lam Tu suspicious, but Lin Am affirmed that even if he was greedy for money, he had to consider his status. Doing this would make others look down on the Lam family. Her words annoyed Lam Tu a bit. He gruffly said he earned money based on his own ability, didn't harm anyone, and didn't care what others thought. Although he said that, Lam Tu didn't forget to snatch the bag of money from Lin Am and walked away decisively. Glancing at her, he thought to himself, if the Trio family disliked a petty bourgeois like him, they should quickly cancel the engagement. On the street, a woman holding a child begged, saying her child was seriously ill. If not treated promptly, it would be hard to survive. Seeing that Lam Tu didn't hesitate to give her a silver tael and asked if it was enough. That amount was already huge for her, so she hurriedly bowed her head in gratitude. Someone like her Triu Lin Am was very familiar with. She was sure that 80 to 90% were scams. Immediately asked Lam Tu if what he did was worth it. Lam Tu was not hesitant at all. 1 silver coin wasn't even enough for a meal at Trich Nguyen Lao, but it could save a life. He thought it was worth doing. After saying that, Lam Tu told Dai Luk to go with him to buy some fabric for Vuong Tam, the servant in his house. He noticed that the servant's clothes were old and nearly torn. Lam Tu buying clothes for the servant shocked Lin Am quite a bit. She couldn't believe he would do such a thing. But Lam Tu treated them like family because they had stayed with Lam residents during the hardest times. That was more valuable than money. After a tiring shopping trip, the 3 of them went into a restaurant to rest. Dai Luk had already eaten 5 bowls, and Lam Tu was busy eating too, chewing while asking Lin Am why she wasn't eating. "The taste here wasn't bad at all," he said, based on a 4-star review. But Lin Am still firmly refused to eat. Then she happily commented on Lam Tu, saying that although he was greedy for money and lustful, he was kind, honest, and not afraid of the powerful. Truly a good person. Lam Tu replied while eating. Your sister-in-law has really discovered my good guy card. Another good guy card. Lin Am still didn't understand what it was, but didn't really care anymore. She immediately stood up, determined to persuade her father that when her elder sister returned to Vuong capital, she would arrange for the two of them to be married at Lam residence. Diluk hurriedly ran into the room to call Lam Tu. When he opened the door, cold air flowed out. Perhaps he was cultivating the strange technique with Lin Am. Diluk hurriedly reported that someone from the palace had come to find him. This made Lam Tu quite confused. His parents were also anxious, unsure if it was a good or bad omen. Lin Am was very sure that nothing serious would happen to Lam Tu and told the couple to rest assured and wait for him to return. On the way to the palace, the eunuch instructed Lam Tu that once inside the harem, he was only responsible for making ice. He must not look at what shouldn't be looked at, not ask what shouldn't be asked, and remember this well. Hearing this, Lam Tu thought to himself that clearly his sister-in-law was stronger, but went after a strong young man like him. The daughter of the first-rank marquis was truly noble. Too bad he ran the Treach Nui at Lao business. Thinking of this, he sighed. The eunuch heard and gave him a sharp glance, asking if he was not satisfied working for the royal palace. Lam Tu quickly denied it, saying the eunuch misunderstood. He was only worried his ability was too low to make enough ice. The eunuch told him not to worry, the emperor had made arrangements. Then he led Lam Tu to pay respects to the noble consort. The noble consort was in a bad mood today, holding a cat, and asking the eunuch who this man was. Your Highness, the weather is hot, and the emperor specially summoned a student from the Institute of Strange Arts to make cooling ice for the ladies. Judging by the eunuch's demeanor, the noble consort guessed he came together from Vin Nin. The cat meowed once, and Lam Tu immediately understood its message. It was too cold. He couldn't help but to be surprised that his animal language skill actually worked with a strange beast. When the noble consort realized she was correct, she showed displeasure and said, "The Empress is really good." While the entire palace was hot like a steamer, she was the first to use ice and probably twice the amount compared to this palace. After saying this, the noble consort turned her back and left, demanding the eunuch and Lam Tu finish the work quickly or face severe consequences. Observing the noble consort all this time, Lam Tu felt annoyed and realized she was not a good person. He decided to finish the work quickly to leave this place at Tien Thu Palace. Lam Tu's ice-making work was nearly complete. However, since he couldn't directly contact the water surface, the ice production efficiency was significantly reduced. After a whole morning of work, he felt almost exhausted. At that moment, a maid brought a plate of grapes to Lam Tu and said this was a reward from concubine Thuc Phi to thank the young master for the hard work making cooling ice. Lam Tu immediately judged Thuc Phi as a kind person much better than the previous noble consort. He tasted a grape and realized it was better than any grape he had ever eaten before. He praised it non-stop while eating. Seeing Lam Tu's expression, the eunuch laughed loudly and explained, "Of course it's delicious. This is a tribute from the western regions. Only concubine Thuc Phi can bestow it on others. Now you know." Lam Tu Ten invited the eunuch to enjoy it together, saying that since they had worked hard with him all morning, this was a well-deserved reward. After eating, Lam Tu and Gong Gong continued their journey to the next destination. He wanted to know in advance about the taboos at the upcoming place to avoid trouble. Next, we will go to Toi Dong Palace, the residence of Princess Manhwa. The princess is the heir after the passing of concubine Duke Phi. Gong Gong warned Lam Tu to be careful and not to anger the princess. Upon arrival, Gong Gong reported, "Princess, your servant is ordered by His Majesty to bring someone to produce ice stones for Toi Dong Palace." Princess Manhwa appeared with an annoyed expression, staring at Lam Tu. Their eyes accidentally met, and the princess immediately grimaced like a monkey and asked her attendant, "Court physician, do you find that person annoying?" The attendant was very used to the princess's attitude and reminded her to put away that expression. The princess obeyed, but instead let out a long yawn and asked Lam Tu to finish the work quickly. After completing the task, Lam Tu silently blamed himself for only encountering ungrateful women today. On the way, he curiously asked Gong Gong if the princess had awakened any special abilities. Gong Gong confirmed that the princess had awakened the fire ability. Lam Tu had anticipated this and thought he should stay away from her in the future. Just when it seemed to be over, Gong Gong took Lam Tu to the residence of Nine Tan. At this point, Lam Tu felt exhausted like a spoiled noodle. He sadly asked Gong Gong, "Looking at how I am, doesn't your conscience hurt?" Gong Gong comforted him not to worry, because he had prepared a special gift. He took out a sparkling primal essence like a diamond and explained that it was extracted from a primal beast capable of aiding awakening, nourishing kidneys, nourishing liver, and boosting primal energy. Anyone who uses it benefits. The effects sounded like a type of elixir, making Lam Tu think Gong Gong was definitely exaggerating. At this point, Gong Gong continued to praise the precious value of the primal essence. "This is His Majesty's grace. Young Master Lam has just awakened, right? This primal essence can equal 1 day of your hard training. If you get a chance to use it, be happy." Hearing the benefits for cultivation, Lam Tu immediately paid attention. Because of this, he began to treasure the primal essence more. It was already dark. After a day so busy it drained him, Lam Tu was finally free. At this moment, he looked truly exhausted all over. Gong Gong also reminded Lam Tu that from now on, he must remember to enter the palace every other day. He absolutely must not forget this important duty. Counting today, Lam Tu had earned a total of 15 primal essences. He silently felt lucky not to have suffered a big loss. Just a few steps later, Trio Lin Am appeared and asked Lam Tu why he was only coming out now without waiting for her to answer. Lin Am then handed over a purse, saying this was her payment from Trich Nguyet Lao. This was money she earned herself. How could Lam Tu dare to accept it? Although he refused, she insisted on giving it anyway. Seeing this, Lam Tu reluctantly accepted it. Holding the money, Lam Tu thought no wonder many people willingly let wealthy women support them. Nothing else to say, but when it comes to freeloading, it's truly excellent. When Lam Tu asked why Lin Am came to pick him up today, she coldly replied, "Your assassin still hasn't been found. Your guards are too weak." Yes, she was right. It was just a bit pitiful for Dai Luke. If he heard that, he'd probably cry all night. Arriving at the wonton shop, Lam Tu's eyes suddenly lit up. He invited Lin Am in to eat together. Inside, Lam Tu immediately ordered 58 wontons. Seeing him order so many, Lin Am curiously asked if he could finish them all. Actually, Lam Tu was so hungry he could eat a whole cow. Busy all day in the palace now, he finally got a proper meal. Just then, Lin Am suddenly sensed something. But when she looked back up at the roof, she saw nothing. She felt strange because she clearly sensed a bit of killing intent. In no time, Lam Tu had finished all 58 wontons. He felt his body was filled with energy, able to fight 10 cows if needed. After eating, Trio Lin Am personally walked Lam Tu home. This made the two masked men hiding on the rooftop feel uneasy. They thought that last time Antu's sudden attack had made Lam Tu more cautious. They believed Lin couldn't protect Lam Tu forever. They were sure they would find an opportunity to strike. At Than Lai Ti, Lam Tu thought that after the Occult Institute's opening ceremony, his visits here would become even fewer. Fishing every 3 days and drying nets for 2, he feared this schedule would cause public dissatisfaction. After some consideration, he suddenly came up with an idea. 2 hours later, the entire manor was filled with a cold atmosphere. It turned out Lam Tu had used occult magic to create a large amount of ice. The soldiers felt that Lord Lum had changed. He had been more diligent lately at Than Lai Ti, not only buying breakfast, but also making ice to help them cool off. They were moved to tears. Hearing the soldiers' praise, one muttered, "Just a little favor from him, and they already treat him like family. These nobles are all the same." Seeing Thu Van Tu leave with a paper, Lam Tu called out asking where he was going. The reason was that Liu Chu Su had a new case and he was going to the scene immediately. Hearing this, Lam Tu told him to sit down and have some iced watermelon. He said he would go to the scene at Vung Vien Wai's house in his place. Liu Tenfeng and Lam Tu had arrived. Everyone was actively examining the body and the scene. Liu Tenfeng observed and said the bricks at the scene were chipped. The victim's ankle had a wound. The wounds on the neck and flower bed were similar. He concluded that the man died from an accident and told everyone to prepare the funeral for Vung Vien Wai. Lam Tu was still observing the bird. It seemed he had gathered some information. He then told everyone to stop. Vung Vien Wai did not die from an accident but was assassinated. Liu Tenfeng reminded him that everything needed evidence. All current clues pointed to Vung Vien Wai's suicide. "What do you have to prove he was murdered?" Lam Tu frankly replied, "I have no evidence, but I know where to start to handle the case." He pointed to a man and said to interrogate him. Upon hearing this, the man immediately ran away. This act proved he was the culprit. Liu Tenfeng immediately ordered people to catch him. Despite trying to escape, he was quickly captured. In this situation, he confessed immediately that he did not intend to kill and was taken to the station right away. The case was considered solved. Liu Tenfeng curiously asked Lam Tu how he recognized the culprit. Lam Tu just answered briefly, "Guess." This answer left Liu Tenfeng speechless. At the main hall of Than Lai Ti, the prefect asked again if Lam Tu was really lucky to guess right or not. Liu Tenfeng still didn't understand. The man left no traces. How did Lum Tu know he was the culprit? He guessed. Lum Tu had discovered a detail they had overlooked. He thought hard but still didn't know what he had missed. A detail even Liu Tenfeng hadn't noticed. This made the prefect find Lum Tu truly interesting. At Trungsun Palace, Lum Tu suddenly sneezed. Last night he didn't sleep well. He wondered if anyone was thinking of him now. The noble consort loudly said, "Even Miss Bach couldn't cure my lady's cat. Tell me, what crime did you commit? You caused the lady's cat to be like this. Drag it down and give it 30 lashes. Lum Tu immediately spoke. "Please, noble consort, show mercy. I know medicine. Please let me examine Lin Sung's condition." Even Bok Song Song, the genius of the Imperial Medical Institute, had no solution. The noble consort didn't believe Lum Tu could cure it. Lum Tu confidently said, "You'll see if there's a way." The noble consort warned, "If you can't cure it, don't blame me if you lose your life." Lum Tu began examining the cat's condition. After several meows, he understood. It said its leg hurt badly. The princess's leg is about to be crippled. Someone help the princess pull it out. Lum Tu quickly took pliers and pulled the sharp object out of its leg. The cat immediately jumped down happily. It had recovered. The noble consort was very pleased and ordered a reward for Lum Tu, a needle. Others were also rewarded. The day was drawing to a close. After a hard day's work, Lum Tu finally left the palace. While walking, Bok Song Song called Lum Tu back. She wanted to ask how he recognized the injured female's leg. Lum Tu was at a loss. He couldn't say he understood cat language. He then used the excuse that he just needed to be meticulous. "I don't have any special secret." Hearing the word meticulous, Bok Song Song was a bit confused and didn't understand. Seeing this, Lum Tu explained further. At that time, Lin's pet curled its claws inward. The color and pain suggested the leg was injured. After Lum Tu's explanation, Bok Song Song sighed and blamed herself for not being skilled enough to notice. Lum Tu comforted Bok Song Song with gentle words. "Animals can't talk or describe their symptoms like humans. I only recognized a few signs because I've raised cats before. Song Song, you shouldn't belittle yourself." From Lum Tu's words, Bok Song Song guessed he had studied medicine before. Lum Tu admitted he was self-taught a little, but was still far behind Song Song. After chatting for a while, Bok Song Song smiled and said, "I just rely on magic. But Lam Gongzi is so meticulous. If you studied medicine, you'd definitely do better than me." Hearing the topic of studying medicine, Lum Tu became excited and asked Song Song if she could teach him medical skills. Song Song agreed immediately, saying she spent most of her time at the Imperial Medical Institute. Lum Tu could find her any time. Their conversation was cheerful. Both smiled brightly. When Bok Song Song turned away, Lum Tu still stood waving goodbye to her. Suddenly he felt angry and sweat all over his body. This feeling made Lum Tu immediately realize it was Trio Lin Am. Lin Am asked sternly, "Are you here again to flirt around?" Lum Tu was scared and didn't dare look her straight in the eye. He could only ask to explain. Lin Am said nothing more, just gave him a look that made Lum Tu's blood pressure drop. Immediately he knelt and handed Lin Am a box. Inside was a hairpin gifted by the noble consort. Lum Tu said, "These days you've guided my cultivation and helped me make cold stones at Trich Nguyen Lao. Consider this a thank you." Lin Am shook her head, refusing, saying the gift was too precious for her to accept. Lum Tu didn't insist and said he would keep it or give it to someone else. Hearing this, Lin Am annoyedly grabbed the gift box, accepting it on her sister's behalf. "I'll accept it first." Lum Tu felt Lin Am was truly a sister-obsessed person. He began to be curious about Lin Am's sister, who had been mentioned all along, but he still hadn't met. Looking at Lin Am, Lum Tu guessed her sister was no ordinary person either. Her beauty must be that of a stunning beauty who could topple kingdoms. At Trich Nguyen Lo, Lum Tu stood before a crowd. He silently rejoiced because in recent days he had absorbed many primordial stars and forces, increasing significantly. His stone-making was also faster. Suddenly, two tall men appeared, grabbing Lum Tu's shoulders with unfriendly looks. "Lam Gongzi, our boss wants to talk to you." Lum Tu was taken inside. In front of him was a table full of food. He looked at the man opposite and said directly, "If you've prepared such a big team, just say what's going on." The man smiled and replied, "I invited you here because I want you to supply cold stones for our Tien Huang Lao. Trich Nguyen Lo will pay double whatever the price is." Hearing double pay, Lum Tu held up 10 fingers. "Trich Nguyen Lao, 1 barrel of stones pays 50 taels. Double that is 100 taels." The man choked on his drink in surprise, pointing and asking back, 100 taels? Why don't you just go rob it then?" After regaining composure, he began to bargain. Lam Gongzi, you must be joking. How about this? I'll pay you 2 taels a barrel, double the market price. Lam Tu asked back, Do I look like someone who doesn't know numbers? The man replied, I know you're the son of Binan Ba. Just a reminder, this Tien Huang Lao is the property of the Vin Bin Hao mansion, while the lord behind Trich Nguyen Lao is only the son-in-law of the mansion. One side is heavier than the other, you should think carefully. Lam Tu showed boredom at the man's long-winded words. He didn't care about his background, stood up without hesitation, and declared the business negotiation ended today. As Lam Tu left, the other man's face showed clear malice. He gripped the glass so tightly that it shattered, then muttered maliciously, If you don't drink the offered wine, you'll have to drink the penalty wine. I will make you come back begging me, and by then you won't get even 2 silver coins. Just then a voice from the shadows reminded him, Young master, please handle this matter properly. I hope you won't be like that useless Chin Tong. Meanwhile, Lam Tu and Dai Luke were walking down the street when suddenly an old man rushed toward them. He grabbed Lam Tu's clothes tightly and shouted loudly, Ouch, you broke my waist, you can't go anywhere. Lam Tu tried to pull away but couldn't. The old man held on so tightly it felt like his pants were about to fall down. He couldn't believe that even after coming to another world, he still had to deal with this kind of tantrum. At that moment, soldiers from Dongtanya appeared. They stepped forward and asked who was causing trouble on the street. Dai Luke quickly explained clearly he bumped into this old man himself. He's a fraud. But the old man still refused to let go, stubbornly blaming Lam Tu and claiming his waist was broken. The soldiers didn't listen to Lam Tu's explanation. They ordered him to be arrested immediately. Observing the situation, Lam Tu realized these soldiers didn't seem to stand for justice but clearly targeted him. He didn't expect Tien Huang Lao to act so quickly. Furious at the soldiers' arrogance, Dai Luke was ready to fight at any moment. But Lam Tu promptly sent him away and instructed that if anyone asked, just say he was at Dong Than Nha. Lam Tu remained calm, showing no resistance, only requesting 2 escorts. His easy cooperation surprised the 2 soldiers because this was unexpected. Dai Luke also found it strange because Lam Tu didn't seem like a prisoner, but more like someone going to a party. At the Dong Than Nha prison, Lam Tu was locked up. Sitting in the cell, he thought about having lived 2 lives, but this was his first time in prison. The feeling was new. Soon after, people from Tien Huang Lao appeared, the very ones Lam Tu had refused earlier regarding the ice deal. He didn't come alone, but brought along the old man who was making a scene. Looking at Lam Tu, he grinned smugly. Young Master Lam, I didn't expect us to meet so soon, Lam Tu replied coldly. You brought a fraud and extortionist to confront me. Should I thank you? He sneered. Young Master Lam, are you joking? Did you also break this old man's leg? Could it be extortion? Lam Tu knew clearly the old man's leg wasn't broken, but the man had kicked the old man's leg and arrogantly claimed it was broken by him. The old man acted well, clutching his leg and yelling, accusing Lam Tu of stepping on it. Witnessing this absurd scene, Lam Tu asked the old man, Doesn't your conscience hurt? Then he turned to ask the other man directly what he wanted. His goal was still to force Lam Tu to make ice, but this time he lowered the price to 1 silver coin per barrel. If Lam Tu agreed, he could be released immediately. If not, he looked at Lam Tu with a threatening glare. At that moment, Lam Tu heard approaching footsteps. He smiled mysteriously and said to him, I just discovered something interesting, want to hear. Curious, he asked what. Lam Tu looked at him coldly and said, I see your forehead is dark. A bloody disaster is coming. Hearing this, he got angry and pointed threateningly at Lam Tu. You just wait inside this prison until you kick the bucket. By then, you won't have a single silver coin left. But as soon as he finished, a strong kick hit his face. The kick was so powerful it distorted his face. Seeing Lam Tu arrested, Gong Gong was extremely alarmed. He hurriedly comforted Lam Tu not to worry and ordered the door to be opened immediately. The Dongthan official personally appeared to open the door for Lam Tu and explained that this was just a misunderstanding. I have investigated thoroughly. This matter has nothing to do with you. You are free to leave now. But before leaving, Lam Tu didn't forget to make a sarcastic remark. So I guessed right, huh? The situation was clear, but the other party still refused to admit fault, continuing to scream that his father must not allow Lam Tu to leave. As soon as he finished speaking, he took another heavy blow. This time not from shoes, but from his own father's foot, teaching his son a lesson. He turned to apologize to Lam Tu. Lam Kung Tu sincerely apologizes for the rudeness of his child. Please forgive him. Gradually, the matter was resolved, and the eunuch hurriedly urged Lam Tu to depart. The noble in the palace was anxious and about to lose his temper. Seeing the other man being disciplined by his own father, Lam Tu felt quite satisfied. He even deliberately spoke loudly. "Chief Steward Lee is right. We can't let the noble get angry." Hearing this, the man grew even more worried and urged the eunuch and Lum Tu to leave immediately. "If the noble gets angry, we'll all be in big trouble." The man was beaten by his father to near exhaustion. He begged, claiming this was caused by the eldest young master. Mentioning the eldest young master only made his father angrier, continuing to beat him relentlessly. "Chief Steward Lee has arrived. Surely His Majesty is waiting for you. If you dare to detain anyone again and dare to associate with them in the future, I will have your legs crippled inside the imperial palace." The hot weather made the noble consort feel extremely uncomfortable. Without a fan, it's hot. With a fan, the wind is still hot. The palace maids didn't know how to soothe the noble consort's irritation and kept asking if Lum Tu had arrived yet. At that moment, the eunuch led Lum Tu inside. He hurriedly paid respects to the noble consort for being later than usual. The noble consort showed displeasure. "So late, do you want me to die from the heat?" Lum Tu quickly apologized, explaining that an unexpected matter delayed him to calm the noble consort's anger. He offered to perform magic tricks for her. Lum Tu's magic was a combination of ice and watermelon. In just a moment, he created a watermelon-shaved ice that was both cool and sweet. This dish pleased the noble consort. She decided to forgive Lum Tu this time. Afterward, she asked him to continue making ice to enjoy the shaved ice. The noble consort had the idea to keep Lum Tu at Trung Xuan Palace so she could enjoy cold fruit any time. However, only the emperor and eunuchs were allowed to stay in the inner palace. This thought made Lum Tu break out in a cold sweat. He quickly declined. "The disciple still has an engagement with the eldest Miss True. Thank you for your kindness, Your Highness." Hearing this, the noble consort showed regret but did not insist further. Leaving Trung Xuan Palace, Lum Tu still felt frightened. He realized he almost went from Lum Kung Tu to Little Lum Tu. On the way, a palace maid from Tuidong Palace was already waiting. She announced that this palace rarely used ice, but today they needed her. The eunuch only needed to come once every 2 days. Lum Tu thought to himself that Princess Manhwa liked heat and disliked cold. Surely this ice was for the palace maids to use when meeting Princess Manhwa. She looked at Lum Tu with a thorough, evaluating gaze. Lum Tu sweated even more because he had just seen the princess. The ice magic on his body refused to settle down. He told himself to always keep a strong mind. After observing for a while, the princess asked his name. Hearing the name Lum Tu, she asked if he was the son of Bin On Ba, the one engaged to that woman. The princess commented that although Lum Tu was handsome, his talent was too poor and unworthy of that woman. Lum Tu agreed with the princess's opinion, feeling it was an accurate assessment. The legitimate daughter of the Trio family had unparalleled talent and beauty. Truly no one in the capital could compare. Apart from this face, I have nothing worthy of her. Lum Tu thought the princess noticed his self-awareness as a good point. But what annoyed her was how he continuously praised that woman, even somewhat belittling others. However, the princess immediately got angry. "Who asked you to praise her? Finish making the ice and get out quickly." Night had fallen. Lum Tu got in the carriage and returned with Lin On the way, he curiously asked Lin who was stronger between her and the princess. Lin replied, "The princess and I are not close, so I have never compared her abilities. It is a fire that clashes with us. You should stay a little away from her." Lum Tu nodded, telling Lin not to worry because he knows how to keep his distance. Although they had never compared directly, Lum Tu still believed that Lin was stronger than the princess. This made Lin quite curious. Lum Tu explained that everyone has their own appearance, but she was both dark-skinned and short, plus the age difference showed he was much older than her. Lum Tu's words made Lin misunderstand that he was calling her old, though that was not his intention. On the way back, Lum Tu heard melodious singing from somewhere. He guessed someone was singing opera nearby. A carriage passed by, and through the window glimpsed the face of a beautiful girl with delicate and gentle beauty. The next morning, Lum Tu returned there to find out who had sung the song last night. Entering inside, Lum Tu watched the girls singing and dancing. The sound made him feel nostalgic, but although the singing was good, it still felt like something was missing. Lum Tu called the owner and asked about the song selection. "Choosing a song costs 20 Von coins," the owner replied. However, the song Lum Tu wanted to choose was not available. He suggested the owner find a girl so he could teach her to sing. Then she would sing back to him. This strange request made the owner cautious, and refuse Le Hua Uyen only allows the girls to choose songs they already know how to sing. Afterwards, even when Lum Tu offered more money, the owner still firmly refused, saying this was not a matter of money. Finally, Lum Tu placed a large silver bar on the table. The owner's eyes lit up and immediately called the girls over. From this situation, Lum Tu concluded that every problem can be solved with money. If it can't be solved, it definitely means not enough money was offered. But when the owner asked if any girls wanted to follow Lam Tu to learn singing, all showed no interest. They said they were all pure and couldn't follow a man to learn singing privately. What if his hands aren't clean? At that moment, a girl appeared and agreed to follow Lam Tu to learn singing. She invited him upstairs. She was the beautiful girl that Lam Tu had seen the night before. He still remembered those eyes that had looked straight at him. The girl led Lam Tu into Lahua Uyen's private room to learn singing. While the other girls refused, she volunteered. This made Lam Tu curious. He asked if she wasn't afraid he had ill intentions. The girl answered confidently others might be, but not the young master. In the trial of Then Lai Ti, the court physician was also in the crowd. The young master is not afraid. A noble, righteous, and upright person is absolutely not a despicable one. Hearing this, Lam Tu began teaching her to sing. He sang the lyrics first, and the court physician sang along while illustrating with dance moves. People passing beneath the stage did not see the old beauty. The person on stage sang of a shattered heart because of separation. The word love is hard to forget. He sang requiring blood to harmonize opening and closing. Who is the guest? After listening to those melodies, Lam Tu silently thought that he had finally found that feeling again. He was truly grateful for the comfort of hearing familiar music from a distant world. Thinking of this, suddenly tears rolled down Lam Tu's cheeks. He sent sincere thanks to the court physician. Thanks to her singing, Lam Tu's crying after hearing the music surprised the court physician, but she only quietly wondered inside. She felt that the lyrics carried a strong ancient mark. It seemed to tell the story of a singer like herself, but why Lam Tu shed tears she still could not understand. Afterwards, Lam Tu quickly left, promising to return to hear her sing another day. At that moment, the court physician suddenly felt dizzy, couldn't stand, and fell to the ground. The sudden incident made Lam Tu panic and hurried back to inquire about the situation. She only said she was a little dizzy. When Lam Tu touched her to help her up, he accidentally triggered her supernatural ability. Realizing he was not capable of handling this situation, Lam Tu decided to find help. He told her to rest and quickly went to the court physician's hospital to invite his friend to come check. The touch with the court physician awakened Lam Tu's supernatural ability related to sound. Now you understand why I feel at ease when I hear her sing. When Lam Tu arrived at the Imperial Medical Clinic, he heard loud shouting. "What does the court keep you for? If anything happens to Nunu, I will make you pay." Lam Tu felt he had come at the wrong time and was about to leave, but at that moment he was called back. "Lam Tu, you came just in time. Come here quickly and see what's wrong with my Nunu." Being called by name directly, Lam Tu could only silently curse. It seemed he couldn't escape anymore. The noble consort immediately explained Nunu's condition. Since yesterday, she hasn't eaten or drunk anything, no spirit at all. Bak Sung Sung examined her but found no external wounds or internal issues. Lam Tu picked her up to check. After a few meows, he understood what she wanted to say. Don't touch this princess. This princess is sad. It's so boring here. Someone come quickly and rescue me out of here." Lam Tu found the cause of Nunu's illness. Until now, all her activities had been confined to Changchun Palace, accumulating boredom over time. This illness can be completely cured. Lam Tu suggested the noble consort let Nunu leave the palace to see the vast world. This would improve her condition. Hearing this, the noble consort's expression briefly darkened. She sent a servant to take Nunu outside for half a day. Feeling slightly tired herself, she returned to the palace first. On the way, the noble consort thought silently that she wasn't the only one trapped in this palace. Later, Nunu was taken outside to see the streets. The new experience lifted her spirits greatly. Everyone noticed her change. Since leaving the palace, Nunu's condition was basically resolved. Lam Tu told Song Song that he came to the Imperial Medical Clinic for a reason today, wanting to invite her to treat someone. Song Song told Lam Tu not to be polite and just take her there. At Li Hua Garden, where many people were gathered, Lam Tu wondered why it was so crowded. It turned out someone was causing trouble. He and a few others shouted loudly, "I don't care if the Imperial Doctor is sick. This young master wants to hear the Imperial Doctor sing. Can't we pay double?" Lam Tu stepped in. Standing behind him, he clapped and laughed, saying, "Young Master Ngo, you brought such a big group. Are you really here to catch me?" He was probably still afraid of what happened last time. Seeing Lam Tu, he was trembling with fear and asked why he was here. Despite his fearful look, Lam Tu still had to say some threatening words. Has young Master Ngo already recovered so quickly from that beating? Or should I tell Eastern City Commander about today's incident so he can teach you a lesson slowly? Witnessing this, he panicked and ran home crying and calling for his father as he ran. Seeing young Master Ngo, who was usually arrogant, so afraid of Lam Tu, surprised everyone around. Only Song Song found the scene extremely amusing. Lam Tu silently rejoiced that the guy knew about his connection to the Imperial Palace. Otherwise, it would be hard to scare him. Then everyone gradually dispersed with various excuses. Some remembered they hadn't collected their clothes, others had stomach aches and needed the restroom. The incident ended. Lam Tu invited Song Song upstairs to examine the Imperial doctor. After a thorough check, Song Song diagnosed that the Imperial doctor fainted due to exhaustion. She just needed a short rest to recover. Sure enough, just a gentle touch from Song Song slowly woke the Imperial doctor. Although awake, the Imperial doctor's head was still a bit dizzy. She curiously asked what had happened. Lam Tu explained that she had just fainted. He had invited Bok Song Song from the Imperial Medical Clinic to treat her. Her condition was now stable with nothing to worry about. The Imperial doctor felt it was miraculous how quickly she recovered. Lam Tu said, "Of course, Miss Song Song's medical skills are extraordinary." Seeing the Imperial doctor was fine. Song Song decided to take Nunu back to wait for further orders. To express her gratitude, the Imperial doctor promised Lam Tu that next time she would tell the boss not to charge when he came to listen to her sing. Lam Tu laughed, saying he already considered her a kindred spirit. And kindred spirits are priceless, but he was still willing to pay to enjoy her singing. Lam Tu's words made the Imperial doctor blush shyly, but she was happy because of it. He asked if she knew why he suddenly fainted. Tai Yi thinks it might be due to insufficient nutrition. Lam Tu nodded in agreement, but added that the main reason was because she had awakened her magical technique. Tai Yi still didn't fully understand, so Lam Tu explained, "Your singing is better than others. You just haven't used your magical technique yet. Today you tried a new singing style that consumed much more energy than usual, which is why you fainted. So that's it." Tai Yi nodded, but still felt this magical technique didn't seem effective. Lam Tu immediately affirmed that's not true. If you can integrate your magic into your voice, you will definitely become the #1 star of the capital. Then everyone will compete to buy tickets to La Hoa Yuan. It sounded tempting, but Tai Yi didn't know how to develop the magic technique. Lam Tu promised to borrow books on sound magic from the Magic Institute for her to practice. Theo, blushing shyly, said, "I don't want to trouble you. I really admire your singing. Later, I'll want to rely on your performance to ease my sorrow." Lam Tu laughed and said, "Tai Yi, you must accept, and promise to always sing for me." When Lam Tu left, the owner said to Tai Yi, "Miss, this young master is no ordinary person. I can see he's different from other playboys. This may be your chance to rise and become a phoenix." Tai Yi sadly replied, "You're teasing me again, sir. My status is low and not worthy of young Master Lam. Just being able to sing a few songs for him makes me very happy." Meanwhile, Lam Tu was in the Imperial Palace. The eunuch informed him that the strange weather had finally eased. "You can rest for a while. His Majesty will reward you. Remember to thank him," the eunuch reminded. So the long-term stable supply of rice tickets was finally gone. Lam Tu felt quite regretful about this. Meeting Lam Tu, His Majesty asked if he was the son of Count Bin An. "This past month has been hard on you. If you want any reward, you can propose it to me." Standing next to His Majesty was Consort Thuk. His Majesty told Lam Tu to propose whatever reward he wished. This made him a bit embarrassed, not knowing what to choose. "No one has ever straightforwardly asked me what I want like this. If I ask for too much, they won't accept. But if I ask for too little, I'll lose out. I wish to have a spacious house near the Imperial Palace, but the price of such houses is never easy to afford." After observing Lam Tu for a moment, Consort Thuk smiled and said to His Majesty, "In my opinion, it's better to gift him a villa near the Imperial City. That way, when your Majesty wants to enjoy aged wine, there's no long wait." Consort Thuk's suggestion seemed very reasonable to His Majesty. He immediately ordered Chu Kam to select a villa near the palace to give to Lam Tu. This reward truly matched Lam Tu's wishes. He hurriedly thanked His Majesty, feeling extremely happy inside. This time they've grown up. Thanks to one sentence from Consort Thuk, I saved tens of thousands of silver taels. I really cherish Consort Thuk. Just then Consort Thuk laughed and His Majesty curiously asked why. Consort Thuk replied that it was nothing special. She just thought of something funny. Actually, the reason Consort Thuk laughed was because she had read Lam Tu's thoughts. Her magic was the ability to read other people's minds. Only 2 days left until the Magic Institute's opening day. Lam Tu felt he still had time to move houses. Suddenly, having such a luxurious house was really a great bargain for him. At the Magic Institute, the atmosphere was lively with many games and various magical arts. The diversity of magical arts made Lam Tu even more excited. He felt he was about to get rich and all these magical arts would belong to him. On the other side, people were gathering to admire Princess Manhwa. Seeing that, Lam Tu shook his head, thinking those people were too young and inexperienced. They didn't know the true beauty of the imperial elder sister. She treats young ladies like treasures. Hearing Lam Tu's confusing words, his friend next to him immediately asked about the meaning of Ngu Ti. According to Lam Tu's thinking, Ngu Ti must be a beautiful, charming person with a clear and attractive face. After hearing this, the friend nodded in agreement. I also think the most attractive woman in the Occult Institute is Miss Tan Uyen. His words made Lam Tu feel very pleased. Hearing Lam Tu's name, the friend asked if he was the son of Binan Ba, the fiancé of Miss Tru from the noble family. After confirming, the friend introduced himself. I am Li Bok Trong. I've heard your name for a long time. The trio family even refused the prince's marriage proposal. But Brother Lam was able to win over the heir Ha Pham. And now entering the Dithwat Institute in Tiendo is truly incredible. You said that making me embarrassed. Lam Tu replied, although I awakened the Ice Dithwat, my talent is just average. I've just been struggling at the Huang Tu Institute. Hearing this, Li Bok Trong sighed. Same here. I comprehended thunder power, but also just struggled at the Huang Tu Institute. Knowing Li Bok Trong's Dithwat was Thunder, Lam Tu was very surprised. The first-tier Thunder Dithwat is more powerful than Ice Dithwat, and Lam Tu really wants to possess it. Thinking so, Lam Tu laughed and said, looks like Brother Li and I share the same struggles. If there's anything unclear, I hope Brother Li will point it out. Haha, Brother Lam and I feel familiar since we just met. Of course. Over here, Triu Lin Am and Princess Manhwa were staring at each other. Clearly, the two disliked each other. Seeing this, both Lam Tu and Li Bok Trong felt tense. Lam Tu then called Lin Am. Just as he called Manhwa's name, she glanced at Lam Tu. Her gaze was like a bullet full of killing intent. This situation made Lam Tu very awkward. She looked like she wanted to deal with him immediately. But it didn't stop there. The princess and Lin Am continued staring at each other. The two said nothing, just silently confronted each other. At this moment, Lam Tu felt lucky to have his sister-in-law backing him up to get out of this awkward situation. Lam Tu then pulled Li Bok Trong aside to continue talking. He asked where the two had been discussing just now. Li Bok Trong honestly answered, we were just talking about how Miss Uyen Ni is the most beautiful woman in this hall. So who is the second most beautiful? Hearing the answer, Lam Tu broke out in a sweat. He quietly asked, did we just discuss that topic? It seemed Li Bok Trong didn't really catch Lam Tu's meaning. Lam Tu wanted to remind him not to mention the topic of women anymore. However, Li Bok Trong enthusiastically continued, Brother Lam also said that besides Miss Tan Uyen Tuyet Ngung Ni is the most beautiful. We share the same view. Besides, Miss Tan Uyen Tuyet Ngung Ni has the most outstanding appearance, figure, and aura. At that moment, Princess Manhwa stood right behind the two. Her expression was even more terrifying than before, as if she was burning with rage. She asked sternly, in your eyes, do women have nothing else besides appearance and figure? If not appearance, of course, there are other things. Both Lam Tu and Li Bok Trong answered in unison. That other thing is the soul. At this moment, it seemed a beauty appeared. Li Bok Trong quickly said goodbye to Lam Tu and left. Seeing this, Lam Tu judged that Li Bok Trong really was someone who forgot loyalty at the sight of beauty. Whenever he saw a beautiful woman, he immediately chased after her. Now only Lin Am and Lam Tu remained. She reminded him that woman was very dangerous. Not to get close or trouble would arise. Taking the advice, Lam Tu confidently replied, don't worry, I promise to be careful. At the Dithwat Institute today, classes had begun. Coincidentally, Li Bok Trong was also present in this class. Seeing Lam Tu, he was a bit surprised and asked, Brother Lam, you also registered for martial arts class? Can your body handle it? He guessed Lam Tu must have other intentions for coming here. His thought was that all the images here were of beautiful girls. The more they looked, the redder both faces became. Their expressions gradually went blank. Right after that, the assembly order sounded. All trainees had to line up strictly in a long line. The class instructor spoke up to introduce himself. My surname is Tan. I am the instructor teaching you martial arts. You can call me Instructor Tan. Now I will train you as my soldiers. If anyone can't endure the hardship now, you may leave. Hearing this, everyone firmly said no. Everyone was full of spirit and determination to be like this. Instructor Tan said, well, hopefully after an hour you won't change your minds. After the warning, he asked everyone to disperse and stand in place in stance. When it comes to the stance, everyone has to take off their shirts. Lam Tu revealed his bulging muscles, making all the girls who saw him swoon. Li Bok Trong was equally impressed by Lam Tu's muscles and asked how he trained his body like that. Lam Tu achieved that thanks to the effectiveness of the strength occult technique. But he only told Li Bok Trong that it was because he often lifted stones and trained with trees. Hearing that, Li Bok Trong happily said, "Brother Lam, you really are the outstanding one among us. A man must have a strong body. Otherwise, how will you enjoy wandering among the flowers later, ha-ha?" The reason Lam Tu cultivated martial arts was to better conceal his knowledge of the strength occult technique. Li Bok Trong thought Lam Tu was only at the first level, but in fact he had already reached the great energy level. It seemed that Elder Tun noticed Lam Tu and Li Bok Trong were stronger than others, so he asked if they had a martial arts foundation before. When he touched Lam Tu tried to restore the occult technique from him, but got no reaction, and concluded that Elder Tun was a pure martial artist. In response to the elder's question, Li Bok Trong said he had learned a little, while Lam Tu said he had never been exposed to it, only regularly trained his body. Upon hearing this, Elder Tun said next time he would teach both of them true energy. As long as they could retain that true energy in their bodies, it would be considered the beginning of martial arts. After a hard session of training, it was time to rest. All the young men were exhausted and collapsed, while the girls were buzzing about Lam Tu, that handsome young master. His body was also beautiful. They wondered if he was betrothed yet. If only they could marry him off, that would be great. Don't dream on. That's Lam Tu, son of the Ping-An Count fiancé of Trio Lin Quan. Mentioning Trio Lin Quan's name made her quite uncomfortable. She said, "Trio Lin Quan? What about her? She's not even in the capital. Who wins or loses isn't certain yet." Turns out her name was Ngung Nhi, also one of the beauties of the Occult Institute. Noticing she paid attention to Lam Tu, some young ladies asked if she was eyeing Trio Lin Quan's fiancé. And as expected when it comes to love, she had no concept of who came first or later. She confidently declared everyone should just wait and see. Trio Lin Quan, though strong in occult arts from a powerful family and favored by the emperor, what will happen when her fiancé is taken by me? She will become the biggest laughingstock of the capital. As long as Lam Tu loves me, it means I have defeated Trio Lin Quan. With her goal clear, she began to follow Lam Tu's every move. This made Lam Tu feel chills down his spine. He didn't understand why he always felt like he was being watched. At this time, classes had ended. Everyone changed clothes and prepared to leave. Just as Lam Tu stepped out, he suddenly saw her appear and fall into his arms. When Lam Tu asked about her condition, she feigned weakness and said she was fine. However, she looked like she was struggling to stand and said she might have twisted her ankle. Seeing this, several friends eagerly offered to help. Some wanted to support her, others insisted on carrying her home. But since her target was Lam Tu, she couldn't let others take her home. She asked those friends if they were strong enough to carry her. This question left everyone stunned. Understanding her intention, they said nothing more. Then she turned to Lam Tu and asked if this young master could do her the favor of carrying her home. This request made Lam Tu a bit embarrassed, but he still agreed to take her home. At that moment, Lin Am appeared and said, "An injured ankle. I'll take you home." So she was taken home by Lin Am in a horse-drawn carriage. Observing the situation, Li Bok Phuong quietly said to Lam Tu, "Brother Lam, your tactics are impressive. You've won the heart of one of the 4 great beauties of the Occult Institute." Lam Tu then learned the Occult Institute's 4 great beauties were Lady Lin Am, Princess Manhwa, Lady Uyen Nhi, and Tuyet Ngung Nhi. But Brother Lam, be careful. Countless rich young masters are chasing after Tiet Ngung Nhi. Li Bok Phuong warned, and he also wondered why she actively approached Lam Tu. Although her occult skill is flight, meaning she can fly, she deliberately asked Lam Tu to carry her. After this incident, Lam Tu definitely saw her as prey. You calculated for a moment and said you would let her know that the best hunter always appears playing the role of the prey as if there was some plan. Lam Tu put his arm around Li Bok Phuong and asked, "Brother Lai, didn't you just arrive at the Occult Institute? How do you know everything? Heh. Brother Lam, if you want to find out about any young lady, just ask me." Li Bok Phuong smiled and replied, "To gather more information about the young ladies at the Occult Institute." Lam Tu invited Li Bok Phuong to the Moonlight Pavilion to talk. The two agreed not to leave until drunk, and as a result, Lam Tu was heavily intoxicated by Li Bok Phuong. He didn't expect that 1,000 cups no drunk young prince like himself would fall before Li Bok Phuong. Upon checking again, Lam Tu found he still only had 3 types of occult arts. He guessed that last night the great strength brought him back. He felt a bit regretful. If Li Bok Phuong had brought him back, maybe he would have gained the lightning occult art by now. But on second thought, Lam Tu told himself the days are still long and there are still many opportunities to restore more occult arts. At the Occult Institute Library today, Lam Tu came to find some books on dark occult arts for the imperial physician. While focused on reading, suddenly Tiet Ngi Ni appeared before him and called out, "So, it's young Master Lam. What a coincidence." Still, Lam Tu didn't pay much attention to her. Oh approached Lam Tu and asked if he minded her sitting next to him. Hearing this, Lam Tu said, "The Pavilion of Hidden Classics isn't my personal property, so where do I have the right to say yes or no, miss? Feel free to sit. Free." Ngi Ni began to sit down, trying to pose seductively confident that with this posture Lam Tu would surely be attracted quickly. But an hour passed, and Lam Tu remained focused on reading without glancing at her even once. Ngi Ni still persisted in keeping her pose, smiling, but inside she was full of frustration. She wondered if his heart was made of iron to be so cold. Seeing her just sitting there silently, Lam Tu finally spoke. "Miss Ngi Ni, why aren't you reading, but just watching me?" Hearing Lam Tu call her name, Ngi Ni was surprised and asked, "You know my name?" Lam Tu smiled. "Miss Ngi Ni, beautiful and talented. Your reputation is widespread in the Occult Institute. Who doesn't know you?" Ngi Ni smiled softly. "That's all just rumors. Young Master Lam, don't tease me." Lam Tu then mentioned his engagement, clarifying the matter seriously. "I am already engaged if I get too close to you. Miss Ngi Ni, it might cause misunderstandings." Ngi Ni responded, "I know you have a fiancé, but I just want to be friends with you. Doesn't True Lin Quan allow you to be friends with someone of the opposite gender?" Just as she finished, Lam Tu suddenly grabbed her hand tightly, excitedly saying, "If that's the case, then of course I can be friends. From now on, you and I, Miss Ngi Ni, will be good friends." Hearing this, Ngi Ni looked happy but also a bit shy. At the Occult Institute, Lam Tu met Li Bok Phuong, who teased him about his drinking capacity not being bad, yet that day he dared to boast 1,000 cups not drunk. He even challenged Li Bok Phuong. Looking back now, Lam Tu feels truly ashamed. While chatting, Ngi Ni suddenly appeared and said, "You two arrived early." Knowing she mainly wanted to approach Lam Tu, Li Bok Phuong quietly left. Lam Tu enthusiastically greeted Ngi Ni. "You can't slack off on studying, so arriving early is natural." Although Li Bok Phuong had left, he still watched Lam Tu and Ngi Ni. He felt Lam Tu was truly amazing, not knowing what he said to make Ngi Ni blush and say, "Young Master Lam, you're so naughty, always saying things like that." When class started, the conversation between Lam Tu and Ngi Ni had to stop. Lam Tu looked at her and thought, "She really is a 1,000-year-old fox lamb, but talking about boys and girls with me, isn't she just trapping herself?" Class began. Tan Jiaoquang asked everyone to focus. He said martial arts only require good physical condition anyone can practice. "Now I will show you." Then he called Lam Tu over. True energy is the foundation of martial arts. It's very rare for someone like Wang Wei to cultivate true energy on their own. Most need assistance. He told Lam Tu to extend his hand, then transferred a beam of true energy into him, instructing try to guide this beam of true energy through your body. How long you can hold it depends on yourself. The true energy beam immediately reacted inside Lam Tu. The instructor told him not to resist, but to feel and remember its path. After a while, adjusting the true energy beam gradually disappeared. Lam Tu felt his body filled with strength as if his blood vessels were cleared. Then the instructor showed satisfaction and praised, "For the first try, maintaining it this long is already very good. Practice a few more times and you will soon step through the door of martial arts." However, the red-haired friend showed dislike towards Lam Tu. He deliberately bumped into him and warned, "Stay away from Miss Ngung Ni. You are not worthy of her." After saying that, he turned his back and left, leaving Lam Tu confused and not understanding what was going on. He didn't know who that guy was. Teacher Lam Tu didn't know his background either. So Li Bok Phuong told Lam Tu all the details. His name is Vuong Ui, just the son of a third-rank marquis, and he only awakened a low-grade mystic space ability. How could Miss Ngung Ni look at someone like him? Asking about Vuong Ui's background, what Lam Tu cared about most was his spatial mystic ability. While Lam Tu was thinking of ways to restore Vuong Ui's mystic ability, Ngung Ni suddenly appeared. She became the bridge between him and Vuong Ui. Seeing the opportunity, Lam Tu decided to make the most of it. He deliberately spoke loudly to Ngung Ni so that Vuong Ui could hear. "Oh, so it's Miss Tiet. What brings you to me?" "Ah, so you brought me water. This place is remote, and the weather is hot. Miss Ngung Yi is really thoughtful. Immediately, Vuong Wei angrily turned around and challenged Lam Tu. Do you dare to accept? His attitude pleased Lam Tu quite a bit. He didn't expect that just a few words to Ngung Yi would drive him crazy. Vuong Wei's condition was that if he won, Lam Tu had to stay away from Ngung Yi, but if he lost, he would withdraw on his own. After hearing this, Ngung Yi worriedly advised Lam Tu not to agree, but she didn't expect him to accept the challenge. Still, she firmly urged him to refuse. In her heart, Ngung Yi thought, I still want to witness Tro Lin Quan being abandoned by her fiancé and becoming the laughingstock of Vuong City. If you lose and can no longer be close to me, my plan will fall apart. Damn Vuong Wei for daring to ruin my big plan. Seeing Ngung Yi worried, Lam Tu told her not to interfere. This is a man's battle. Hearing that, she stepped aside and just hoped that Lam Tu would win. The fight began, both holding swords fiercely and staring at each other. Vuong Wei used the big brain technique, throwing all his strength to attack Lam Tu, but Lam Tu not only blocked it, but also used mystic force. Just one sword strike from Vuong Wei was cut off, and he was hit hard on the head by Lam Tu, falling unconscious. Lam Tu didn't expect him to be so easy to deal with. He hadn't even used his full strength. The instructor checked and announced that Vuong Wei was only unconscious. Lam Tu was asked to call for medical assistance but refused, and carried Vuong Wei himself to the Imperial Medical Institute, surprising everyone with his enthusiasm. On the way, Vuong Wei woke up and drowsily asked, Where is this? At this time, Lam Tu had restored 73% of his mystic ability. To avoid interruption, he struck Vuong Wei's neck again, causing him to faint once more. At the Imperial Medical Institute, the doctor said Vuong Wei had no serious issues and only needed his medicine changed in the afternoon. However, the wound on his neck required additional support for treatment. After the doctor left, Lam Tu picked up a jar to test the mystic ability he had just restored. The result was he could make the jar disappear and reappear in the blink of an eye. Lam Tu felt this spatial ability was wonderful, making it more convenient for him when going out. He also noticed it was faster than before, and wondered if the restoration efficiency was related to the contact area. While happily speculating, Bok Song Song suddenly appeared. Both she and Lam Tu were very surprised to see each other, as if not expecting to run into each other here. Then Lam Tu shyly asked, You're also at the Imperial Medical Institute? Lam Tu had asked a rather silly question. Because Song Song was always at the Imperial Medical Institute, she should have been the one to ask. Lam Tu was secretly relieved that Song Song didn't see him use mystic ability, almost revealing his secret. When Song Song asked why he came to the institute, Lam Tu immediately replied that he brought a classmate to Sister Thuong and wanted to take this opportunity to learn medical skills from her. He expressed his desire to first learn how to take a pulse. Teacher Lam Tu was interested in learning, so Song Song began to guide him. She explained that pulse patterns are divided into sinking pulse, deep pulse, floating pulse, and rapid pulse, each with different manifestations. After explaining the theory, Song Song asked Lam Tu to practice immediately by taking her pulse and describing his sensations. She promised to continue guiding him based on the results. Lam Tu started practicing but was actually not interested in learning pulse diagnosis. His main goal was to restore Song Song's healing occult technique. However, after a while trying, he made no progress. This made Lam Tu feel confused. Song Song mistakenly thought he was worried because he couldn't take the pulse and comforted him. When you're new, you have to be patient, no need to rush. Her enthusiasm touched Lam Tu, but his restoration results were still minimal. Lam Tu thought hard but couldn't find the reason. Song Song saw his strange expression and asked. At that moment, Lam Tu was troubled because the system suddenly lost signal, but he tried to stay calm and told Song Song everything was fine. After thinking for a while, he suddenly realized he thought the system hacked others' powers to restore them, but in fact, restoration was awakening his own occult technique. If it is an occult technique, it needs to be constantly awakened to increase its limits. Wait until I awaken the second time, I will definitely succeed. At that moment, the system notified that his skill bar was full and required expansion. Lam Tu held Song Song's hand, thanking her for helping him understand pulse patterns. The atmosphere suddenly turned cold, and Lam Tu realized someone was coming. He quickly let go of Song Song's hand and explained he hadn't done anything wrong. This time, Lin Am didn't demand to fight Lam Tu, but said she was worried about him and came over, but then saw him flirting with another girl. After saying that, she turned and left. Lam Tu hurried after her, trying to explain, I was just learning pulse diagnosis with Song Song. Lin Am didn't believe him and asked him to swear. Lam Tu said, I swear to heaven that I only have a pure master-disciple relationship with Song Song. If there is a single lie, I will— Lin Am interrupted, saying she already believed him. However, she still loudly asked why he didn't finish the oath. Lam Tu anxiously asked, "Is there no trust at all between us?" This question made Lin Am even angrier. She loudly taught, "Repeat after me, if there's a single lie, may heaven strike me down, I won't die peacefully." But faced with that, Lam Tu had to admit, "I just wanted to touch that girl's hand, I'm not ashamed at all." Lam Tu's attitude made Lin Am extremely angry. She scolded him, a young man who constantly promises to keep himself pure, but now has broken that promise. "Lam Tu, I'm increasingly unable to understand you. Before you mentioned your engagement with your sister to everyone you met, but now you go around flirting everywhere, even asking me if you can break the engagement. What do you really want?" Hearing words like keeping oneself chaste, Lam Tu timidly replied, "Don't take it to heart, it's just the reckless talk of a young man." Suddenly, Lin Am asked directly, "Do you already have someone you like?" Lam Tu didn't dare look directly at Lin Am. He nodded and admitted, "Yes, I have someone in my heart, and for my whole life I only want to marry her." After hearing that, Lin Am began to guess who Lam Tu's crush was. Recently, she saw him often going to Lahua Garden, so she suspected he liked some performer there. Lam Tu didn't deny it, and even acted shy to make Lin Am more convinced. He thought to himself that Lin Am had already prepared the candidate for him. So if he didn't go along, wouldn't that be ungrateful? However, Lin Am knowing his whereabouts made Lam Tu feel she was somewhat strange, but he still didn't completely trust her. Lin Am asked again, "Do you really like the supporting actress?" "How can a supporting actress compare to my big sister?" Lam Tu immediately replied, "You don't understand love. When I truly love someone, in my eyes, there is only that person. Whether it's your big sister or a heavenly fairy, she becomes dim in front of her." However, this reasoning was not enough to soothe Lin Am. She questioned, "If you already have someone in your heart, why did you touch that female imperial physician? If you already have someone in your heart, why do you still fight and even brawl at the Arcane Institute because of Tiet Ngung Nhi?" Lam Tu, cornered, had no choice but to ask bitterly, "If I said I liked all three of them, would you believe me?" Lin Am continued to reason that Lam Tu liked all the beautiful girls. Lam Tu did not refute and even said, "I just want to bring a warm home to all the beautiful girls. What's wrong with that?" Lin Am still didn't believe it. She said, "Someone like you? How could you not like my big sister? Surely you just want to be promiscuous before marriage." Lam Tu immediately rebutted, "What do you mean promiscuous before marriage? I am not like that." Now, no matter what Lam Tu said, Lin Am did not believe him. She threatened him, "If I catch you flirting around again, I won't be polite." Meanwhile, Vung Wei was gradually recovering but still had to wear a neck brace. He thought silently, Lam Tu was too cruel. If just hitting hard, it's one thing, but why aim at my neck? Wearing this brace is so uncomfortable. At this time, Vung Wei went out to meet a mysterious person. That person sat in a carriage listening to his report. "I had a chance to take him down, but my luck wasn't good." The other replied, "Once is bad luck, twice as well, but you can't blame luck every time. Looks like I underestimated him." At Lum Mansion, Lam Tu was bathing and humming a song. He was quite pleased with the newly restored spatial arcane technique today. Although this arcane skill had no combat power, it was very convenient for making some extra money. He thought he could try activating this skill when necessary. Even though it couldn't fight, it was not bad for self-defense. Speaking of self-defense, Lam Tu recalled the time Ton Dailuk almost sacrificed himself to protect him. To ensure safety, he decided to help Dailuk improve his strength. As for restoring arcane techniques, Lam Tu told himself to be more careful. If his sister-in-law found out like today, it would definitely lead to a big disaster. After finishing his calculations, Lam Tu continued singing, "Once dreamed of wandering freely across the horizon. Who knew marrying early and having a child? Once dreamed of riding horses through the flower forests. Who knew there would be a sister-in-law who wouldn't listen?" Today, Lam Tu took Dailuk out, but it was unclear where they were going. Notably, Lam Tu also gave Dailuk a whole box of money to hold. Even though Dailuk asked with suspicion, Lam Tu was determined not to reveal anything. At this moment, he was highly focused, continuously observing around as if searching for something. After a while of checking, Lam Tu finally found the place he needed. It was a place called Tu An Quan. Just a glance outside this place already exuded a powerful and majestic aura. Lam Tu noticed the price list hanging outside the shop. Martial artists of the Earth rank lead their own Chi 1x100 taels, no bargaining. Teaching martial techniques for a month. 100 taels for a year, 100 taels. Back massage, 100 taels. After looking it over, Lam Tu thought to himself, Indeed, no matter the era, skill and ability are still the most precious and valuable things. Meanwhile, Dailuk found this price list too expensive, especially the 100 taels fee for a single chi leading session. Entering the guild hall, the two saw muscular fighters full of vitality. With just one kick, they could easily smash a piece of wood, Lum Tu thought. No wonder people say the strategy of Earth-rank martial artists is not inferior to arcane masters awakened 5 times. Just then a man approached and asked Lum Tu and Dailuk what their purpose was here. Lum Tu replied, "We came to invite the guildmaster to lead Chi. We already know the prices and rules and have brought enough silver." After hearing this, the man led the two deeper inside. As soon as they entered, Lum Tu and Dailuk saw a forest lord reclining majestically in the room. Just a glance, and both were trembling, sweat pouring down like rain. The man sitting and stroking the tiger is the tavern master named Tran Hung. The tiger is his pet. The guide told Lum Tu that as long as he didn't provoke the tiger, it wouldn't harm anyone. When the guide reported that guests arrived for chi guidance, the tavern master shook his head and refused. "Don't bother me. A hoe is sick right now. I have no mood for anything." Hearing this, the guide turned and said, "You both heard that. Come back another day." But at that moment, Lum Tu had already disappeared. It turned out he had run to the tiger, sat down, and listened to it. The tiger seemed to be trying to convey that its throat was very uncomfortable. "There's a bone stuck in my throat. It's about to kill me. Someone please help me get it out." Lum Tu confidently told the tavern master, "I can cure this tiger. According to my years of veterinary experience, it has a bone stuck in its throat. All you have to do is open its mouth and take the bone out." Following Lum Tu's advice, the tavern master opened the tiger's mouth and comforted it not to panic. After a moment of searching, he really saw a small bone. Note that this action is extremely dangerous and should not be imitated. The tavern master removed a bone a little longer than his hand. The tiger's problem was solved. The tavern master happily patted Lum Tu's shoulder and said, "Thank you, little brother. I've been worried all morning not knowing what was wrong with a hoe. Luckily you found the cause. The 2 guests for chi guidance can start now." Lum Tu pointed to the heavy money box he was holding and said, "This is a small token of our sincerity." The tavern master laughed loudly. "No need for silver. When you successfully guide chi, I won't charge you." Dolly was very happy, but still shy. Lum Tu quietly rejoiced, thinking that this time the exotic animal language skill saved him hundreds of taels. He thought to himself that when Miss Hai Duong gets her body back, he would invite her to open a veterinary clinic together to earn some money. Thinking of this, Lum Tu felt extremely excited. It seems the opportunity to get rich in this world is not difficult at all. Since earlier, Dolly had been standing there like a stone statue, making Lum Tu unable to hold back and shout, "The tavern master already said it clearly. Why are you just standing there? Hurry up!" Only when Lum Tu reminded him did Dolly realize that today he came here to receive chi guidance from the tavern master. Before that, he thought his young master was the one to get chi guidance. Seeing Dolly still hesitant, Lum Tu lightly kicked his butt and urged, "If you don't go up, then am I supposed to go? After all, are you protecting me, or am I protecting you?" But soon Dolly successfully received chi guidance from the tavern master. His speed surprised the tavern master because after only one try, Dolly achieved results beyond expectations. After finishing, Dolly felt his body full of vitality. The tavern master looked at him regretfully. If Dolly had started training 25 years earlier, his strength might have far surpassed yours. Lum Tu was very admiring of Dolly's talent. He even wished he could trade places with him. When everything with Dolly was settled, the tavern master glanced at Lum Tu and said, "Little brother, your personality isn't bad. Want to try guiding chi? It's free." Seizing such a good opportunity, Lum Tu immediately agreed. He even promised the tavern master that if anything happened to Ah Ho in the future, just come find him. Hearing this, the tavern master was very pleased and resolutely told Lum Tu, "If you don't succeed in initiating today, don't come back." The tavern master's words only made Lum Tu more determined and passionate, and this was the tavern master's condition after guiding Lum Tu's chi. When his disciple asked, he could only sigh 20 times, exactly 20 times. "Do you know what I went through during that one watch? I was almost drained dry. It's too traumatic." Meanwhile, Lum Tu was still diligently training. After that chi guidance, his power increased significantly. Although he couldn't yet reach the level of a punch that causes a sonic boom like Lin Am, the result was not bad. Lum Tu began to dream of reaching the highest realm, chopping mountains and splitting clouds. One finger could cut a river, making Lin Am no longer a rival. By then, Lin Am's sister-in-law would have to depend on him. Lost in his imagination, Lam Tu laughed out loud. Unexpectedly, Lin Am was standing right behind him, watching Lam Tu's expression. Lin Am guessed that you were thinking about something bad. She immediately said, "What are you thinking? Quick, come with me." Lam Tu was surprised to see Lin appear at this time because this was supposed to be her training period. Lin explained, "You've been improving very fast lately. Training every 3 days is no longer effective. Follow me and I'll take you to another place." Lin enthusiasm made Lam Tu a bit worried, but he still couldn't guess what was about to happen. The place Lin wanted to take him to was Thien Tu Vien, a place reserved for only 10 outstanding geniuses. Lam Tu felt that as a student of Huang Tu Vien, it would be hard for him to enter this place. Lin reassured him, "My sister is the real genius. Don't worry, I've already gotten permission from the headmaster. You can enter now." As soon as he stepped through the gate, Lam Tu felt freezing cold, trembling. He asked Lin "It's so cold here, do you usually train here?" Lin didn't answer, just ordered, "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry inside." Their training room had an ice bed. There were also a few penguins around. Seeing Lin prepare to sit on the ice bed, Lam Tu hurriedly objected, "Lin if you want to send me off to the underworld, just say it straight. Don't force me to sit on that bed." Lin coldly replied, "You just sit next to the training bed with me. No one is forcing you to sit on the bed." Hearing this, Lam Tu breathed a sigh of relief and joked, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" watching Lin sit comfortably on the ice bed. Lam Tu thought to himself, "Sitting directly on that, does it really not freeze your butt? My sister-in-law looks so comfortable sitting on the bed. Maybe sitting next to the bed isn't that cold either." But in reality, he only felt a sharp coldness piercing straight to his brain. Lam Tu's bone-chilling appearance made Lin quite satisfied. She thought to herself, "I don't believe with this condition you still have the energy to flirt around." At this moment, Lam Tu really didn't expect that a small, mystical ice bed could drain him so much. The bone-deep cold was almost unbearable. After sitting for a while, he asked Lin "Can I rest a bit?" Lin smiled slightly and replied, "Rest what? Is strength more important or rest more important?" In the following days at the Dithuat Vien, Lam Tu looked noticeably more lethargic. When Ngung Nhi invited him to go boating on the lake, he immediately declined, complaining that he wasn't feeling well today. Then Bach Song asked if he wanted to discuss medicine, but Lam Tu still shook his head, dragging his heavy steps and saying, "I'm too tired." Not stopping there, another girl invited him to listen to singing, but Lam Tu was no longer in the mood. He even said bluntly, "You don't need to say more. I have no such worldly desires." Now Lam Tu was completely exhausted. Tears flowed inward. He could only silently lament, when will this life finally end? And before it was once every 3 days, now it was 3 times a day. Back home, Lam Tu immediately collapsed onto his bed, complaining, "These past few days, every day, Lin has drained me so much I don't even have time to study the mystical sound cultivation manual for the imperial physician. After enduring Lin harsh training, I'm just about to awaken again." The next morning, as soon as he woke up, Lam Tu heard the loud bell that Lin was looking for him. It seemed he had gotten used to her training intensity, so he immediately started moving his limbs, preparing mentally. He thought to himself, "It's okay for strength, for the freedom to ride and roam. Lin can keep tormenting me." But things didn't go as he thought. Today, Lin came to inform him that she would have to leave for a while. Hearing this, Lam Tu immediately looked unusually cheerful, even overly happy. In contrast to Lam Tu's expression, Lin irritably instructed, "My mother wants to go home to visit relatives. I have to go with her. I will be away from the capital for a while. You've also had a break these days, no need to train anymore. When I come back, I'll probably be able to help you awaken again." Seeing Lam Tu overly happy, Lin curiously asked, "Why are you so happy?" Lam Tu dared not say he was happy because she was leaving, so he quickly replied, "I was just thinking about some happy things." Before getting on the carriage, Lin added, "While I'm gone, you're not allowed to go out flirting so I can be at ease." Lam Tu raised his hand to swear, "Don't worry, Lin I will definitely behave obediently at home." But in his heart, he thought differently. Behaving obediently at home. That's strange. At Le Huayen, Miss Tai was sadly thinking about Lam Tu because he hadn't come to listen to her sing for several days. She believed that the young masters of Vuong Do only had fleeting fancies. A few days ago he liked Thai E, then after a few days he liked Than E Diep E. Perhaps that young master had already forgotten about her. Just then Lam Tu suddenly appeared excitedly and said, "Miss Tai E, look what I brought for you." Seeing Lam Tu arrive, Miss Tai E was extremely happy. Her expression at that moment was full of happiness. Lam Tu immediately held up a notebook and said, "This book contains detailed introductions to sound-based mystical arts, including notes on melodies to enhance cultivation. You can take a look and copy one for yourself afterward." This notebook was like a treasure to Miss Tai E. She hugged it to her chest, moved to tears. She asked Lam Tu, "How should I thank you, young master?" Seeing her tear up, Lam Tu gently wiped her tears and said, "Miss Tai E, your singing has helped me relieve a lot of pressure and loneliness. This is the best repayment I can give." Miss Tai E hesitated and asked, "You have helped me so much, but I still don't know your full name." Lam Tu replied, "I am Lam Tu." Hearing his name, Miss Tai E was startled and asked, "Are you the young master Lam Tu who is betrothed to the eldest miss of the True family?" Lam Tu was surprised and confirmed, "Yes. You know about this too." Thai E knew it well. That young lady is a rare genius. Her future is tied to the fate of the great Ha. Thai E was always curious about which man was worthy enough to marry her. Unexpectedly hearing this, Lam Tu continued Thai E's words. "Now that you've seen me, do you think I am not worthy of her?" But Thai E's intention was not like that. She always highly valued Lam Tu's talent. How could he not be worthy? Upon hearing this, Thai E felt a little sad and said, "You and Miss True are a perfect match. Truly a couple made in heaven." But judging by Thai E's expression, Lam Tu guessed she had developed some affection for him. So Lam Tu imagined a happy couple blissfully in love with Thai E. But the dream didn't last long before the image of True Lin appeared in his mind. That scene wasn't very pleasant. He feared that if Lin found out about this, she'd beat him up badly. Master Lam Tu was stunned and said nothing. Thai E waved her hand to bring him back to reality. "Ah, it's Miss Tai Y. I'm fine. I just spaced out for a moment." Thinking of Lin made Lam Tu scared. He knew that for Miss Tai E, simply not wanting Lin to break her leg was hard enough. He decided to wait and develop more. After breaking off the engagement with the True family, Lam Tu thought he would definitely seize Thai E. At the martial arts class, the instructor was quite pleased to learn Lam Tu had successfully guided his chi. He said it was not bad. Since the chi guidance succeeded, the teaching content afterward must be adjusted accordingly. Usually, after much practice, one can choose a weapon that fits their hand and try using chi to envelop it wherever the true energy condenses in the body. Following the instructor's advice, Lam Tu chose a knife for himself. While he was still observing the knife, Ngung Nhi suddenly stood right in front of him, handing him an invitation card and saying her 18th birthday would be in a few days. She said there would be a party at her house and asked if Lam Tu would not refuse this time. "A few days ago, I was really too busy and reluctantly had to refuse you, miss. This time for Miss Ngung Nhi's birthday, I definitely will not break my promise." After saying this, Lam Tu muttered to himself, "Don't worry, I will definitely give you a gift you'll never forget for a lifetime." By the way, Lam Tu asked her about Vung Wee's situation. "Has he come to bother you these days?" Hearing this, Ngung Nhi looked adorable and shy. "You still mention him? You made me worry about you. What are you afraid of? Haven't I already won? I don't need to leave your side either." But it's strange. In the past, Vung Wee always surrounded Tan Uyen. Why this time is he betting against you for me? Ngung Nhi's question made Lam Tu feel he understood something, so he began to ponder deeply again. Seeing Lam Tu holding the invitation card, Lee Buk Trung appeared and asked if it was Miss Ngung Nhi's invitation. But with Lee Buk Trung's speed and gossip, Lam Tu had to admit that nothing could get past him. Not finished, Lee Bok Trung even praised Lam Tu's clever tactics, saying he must admire him. "You really think this Lam Tu doesn't see anything impressive about it?" You asked Lee Bok Trung again, "Could it be that she didn't give you an invitation?" And that goes without saying. The birthday of the precious gem in the Tiet National Duke's household isn't something everyone can attend. Tiet Vo Dao has many people like that. If you got the invitation, you're the only one. Hearing that, Lam Tu curiously asked if Vuong Uy had one. Regarding Vuong Uy, Buk Trung guessed he probably did since his father is the Guang'an Marquis. Logically, he should have an invitation, but last time Vuong Uy lost a bet to Lam Tu. Lee Bok Trung was sure that even if Miss Ngu Nhi gave him an invitation, he wouldn't have the face to go. Lam Tu and Lee Bok Trung had been talking all along, and Vuong Uy heard everything. He muttered to himself, "Could you keep your voice down when talking about others? I heard everything." After class, Lam Tu and Li Bok Trong invited each other to eat at Trich Nguyet Lao, but when they got there, Lam Tu refused to go in and just stood outside staring. Seeing that Li Bok Trong had to urge him to go inside quickly, asking why he was just standing there. At this point, Lam Tu tentatively suggested it was getting boring eating only at Trich Nguyet Lao. How about we try going to Thien Huang Lao? Hearing the name Thien Huang Lao, Li Bok Trong showed hesitation. He advised that other taverns are fine, but Thien Huang Lao should be avoided because it belongs to the Vin Bin Marquis' estate. The Vin Bin Marquis had repeatedly come to the Zhao family asking to marry Zhao Ling Quan for his son, but was always rejected due to a prior engagement. But the power of the Vin Bin Marquis is considerable. Guang An Marquis Trung Dong Ba Tan Iba, along with Dong Tan Ling and Dong Tan Wei, are all his subordinates. With such tangled connections, even if the manager of Thien Huang Lao welcomes you, would you dare to eat there comfortably? Because the young Master Ngo, who deliberately provoked Lam Tu earlier, also came to eat at Trich Nguyet Lao today. After finishing his meal, he felt the food here was quite ordinary, incomparable to Thien Huang Lao. He regretted that last time's affair was ruined and felt he had no face to return. The brother was muttering to himself when suddenly he saw Lam Tu right in front of him. Every time he saw Lam Tu, he would turn pale from fear of past events, but Lam Tu appeared very friendly. He waved and smiled, saying, "Hello, brother, we meet again." Startled, he immediately went on the defensive and asked, "What do you want? I haven't bothered you lately." "Oh, don't be afraid, I have no intention of doing anything to you. I just want to ask you something. I know last time you were instigated by someone else. So can you tell me who is behind it?" Hearing Lam Tu's question, he acted as if he didn't understand what he was talking about. "But I really didn't expect you to be so loyal," Lam Tu said, making him hastily explain, "I often go to Thien Huang Lao to eat and have a good relationship with the manager. You helped Trich Nguyet Lao make ice to steal their customers. I didn't like that, so I wanted to teach you a lesson." After hearing this, Lam Tu's tone became more serious and warning. "If you act on your own like that, don't blame me. Coincidentally, His Majesty summoned me to the palace tomorrow to make ice. I will break 3 of my ribs myself and tell the palace people that you knew I wanted to enter the palace, but deliberately hurt me badly. You should prepare for the worst. Have a good meal, he. Good luck." Lam Tu's words scared young Master Ngo so much he cried out loud. He didn't know what to do except call Lam Tu shameless. But no matter how much he cursed, Lam Tu didn't care. He walked away but reminded him to remember to say goodbye to his family. After a few steps, he pulled Lam Tu's sleeve and revealed everything. Actually, that matter was instigated by the eldest young master Xuan Duong of the Vin Bin Marquis' estate to frame me. There is a debtor and a creditor. You go find him. This has nothing to do with me. Today is Ngunyi's birthday at the Tuyet National Duke's mansion. Everyone who came brought valuable gifts. The young master of the Vin Xuan Marquis' estate gave a pair of jade ruyi. Young Master Tran Van of the Kulak Marquis' estate gave a pipa. Miss Ngakbich Tran Boy of the Tran Kwuk Kong residence presents 10,000 taels of silver. When it was Lam Tu's turn, he brought nothing with him. The gatekeeper saw this and immediately asked where the young master's gift was. "My gift is quite special. Later I will personally present it to Miss Ngung Nhi." Hearing this, the gatekeeper invited him in. "Please welcome young Master Lam Tu of the Bin An residence." Inside, Ngung Nhi was surrounded by men trying to win her favor. Seeing Lam Tu arrive, Ngung Nhi immediately left them and ran over to greet him. Her appearance today left Lam Tu utterly enchanted. He complimented her, saying she looked more beautiful tonight than ever before. Lam Tu's praise made Ngung Nhi blush. She told him he was flattering her too much. At that moment, a man interrupted to ask who this brother was, since he had never seen him before. Ngung Nhi introduced him as young Master Lam Tu of the Bin An residence. He is a good friend of mine. Upon learning Lam Tu's background, several men showed disdain. They thought to themselves that he was just the son of a third-rank official, nothing to worry about. After a while, everyone suddenly remembered that Lam Tu was actually the fiancé of Trio Lin Quan. Instantly, envious glances from all directions turned toward him. At this point, Ngung Nhi began introducing the young masters present to Lam Tu. "These are 2 young masters from the residence of Wei Kwuk Kong, Wei Van Vien," she said. "And this is the eldest young master of the Chi Kwuk Kong residence, Chi Tan Tiu." Lam Tu looked at their faces and felt they were no different from ordinary fish in a pond. Yet they always acted arrogantly as if they were great figures. Not stopping there, there was another young master who seemed better than the others. The eldest young master of the Vin Bin Hao residence, Duong Tuyen. Lam Tu also categorized him as a seafood fish like the others, but guessed this one might be a bit more premium. Even so, Lam Tu politely greeted him, "Brother Duong, I've admired you for a long time. We are all friends of Miss Ngong Nhi. I will look after you more in the future." After that, the other young masters began boasting about the precious gifts they had brought for Ngong Nhi. "This is the bright moon pearl I had brought back from the western regions," one said. "This is a birthday gift I gave my sister," another said. Some other scornfully showed a box claiming it was their gift. Inside was a large, sparkling, top-grade spirit pearl. Everyone was amazed by this precious gift. "Oh my, this spirit pearl can help Miss Ngong Nhi increase her cultivation level by at least 1 rank. This is definitely a level 5 beast spirit pearl," someone exclaimed. Lam Tu couldn't help but covet that spirit pearl. He thought about the low-level spirit pearls he had used before, which only increased cultivation levels, while high-level pearls like this could raise awakening rates. This truly is a treasure that's hard to buy even with money. Lam Tu silently acknowledged that these brothers really knew how to show off, willing to spend huge sums just to win over their beloved. After showing off their gifts, they turned their attention to Lam Tu. "Young Master Lam of Bin An residence, what gift did you bring for Miss Ngong Nhi? I saw you came in empty-handed. Surely you didn't come unprepared." "That's not very good," someone asked, worried about Lam Tu's reputation. Ngong Nhi intervened. "Lam Tu's gift was sent a few days ago, and I like it very much." At that moment, Lam Tu reached into his jacket and took out something, saying he had prepared a special gift for her tonight. When Ngong Nhi asked what it was, Lam Tu held up a tube and shot a beam of light into the sky. At first, it was just a flickering dot of light that looked quite funny. The others laughed so hard they were holding their stomachs, tears falling. "Is this the special gift you gave Miss Ngong Nhi? Just a sparkler." But Lam Tu's gift didn't stop there. Soon after, many beams shot up from below, creating a dazzling fireworks display in the sky. Ngong Nhi really liked this gift. She kept marveling at the sky without blinking, continuously praising its beauty while the other men remained indifferent, thinking fireworks were nothing special and not worth much, at most costing 10 taels. Nevertheless, all the young ladies here loved it and praised how beautiful it was. The happiest person right now is Ngong Nhi Tan's younger sister, who thanked Lam Tu, saying this was the best gift she received today. It was no coincidence that Lam Tu gave Ngong Nhi this gift. Everything was part of his strategy. If she had little experience, he would help her see the beauty of life. If she had gone through many hardships, he would take her on a carousel ride. Lam Tu believes that to pursue a girl, you have to do romantic things. Just throwing money around will only make you look like someone who treats money like trash. At this moment, Ngong Nhi may have truly fallen for Lam Tu. She slightly regretted, saying it would be great if he wasn't Bin On Ba's son. But because the fireworks were too loud, Lam Tu couldn't clearly hear what she just said. When he asked again, Ngong Nhi just smiled and said it was nothing. The party was also nearly over by then. Only the eldest son of Vin Bin Mansion Marquis Dung Tween and Lam Tu remained. He spoke up to praise Lam Brothers' gift as truly unique and novel. It was obvious that Miss Ngong Nhi liked it very much. Lam Tu stopped pretending. He straightforwardly said there were only the two of them here, so he didn't need to act anymore. "I know well that the incident at Thien Hang Lo was directed by you. Vung Wee's challenge to me was also your plan, right? And Trung Dung Ba is also your father's subordinate. So Tan Thong provoking me was arranged by you too, wasn't it?" Twin Jung's face remained cold as money after hearing this, calmly responding, "Lum brother, I don't understand what you're saying at all." Lum Tu sneered, "If you don't understand, then fine. Your calculation isn't bad. It's just that the people you use are still too inexperienced, haha. Try harder next time." Even though Lum Tu made it clear, Tuan Jung still acted innocent, as if everything was just a misunderstanding. Lum Tu Tan raised a finger to deliberately provoke Tuan Jung. "I really like seeing you dislike me, but can't do anything about it." After saying that, he left without looking back. Outside, Dai Luk was already waiting. The two exchanged a few words. It seemed Lum Tu asked Dai Luk to prepare some things which reportedly cost quite a lot. When Lum Tu left, Tuan Jung finally revealed his anger. He thought to himself, "I originally planned to let you enjoy a bit more, but if you want to die early, I'll make sure of it. Lum Tu, just wait." Returning home, Lum Tu focused on the elemental pearl in his hand. He thought that 10 level 2 rare elemental pearls cost a total of 100 taels of silver, definitely not cheap. Today, Lum Tu deliberately provoked Tuyanzung. He knew Tuyanzung wouldn't be able to stay calm and would make a move again. Lum Tu realized that only power could protect himself, and he decided to start his second awakening immediately. He began absorbing the elemental pearl. This process required great strength and resources. It wasn't easy. Lum Tu nearly succeeded, but the energy from one elemental pearl was still insufficient. Fortunately, he had prepared enough beforehand. The next morning, Lum Tu's dog Dai Huang was dreaming about a chicken drumstick. Hearing someone call its name, it wondered who was speaking. "Is there a second dog in this yard?" Lum Tu heard and gave it a slap. "Who are you calling a dog?" "The organization gave you a mission. Do well and you'll get a chicken drumstick." On Tuyen Jung's side, his subordinates reported to their supervisor. On Bin An Ba's side, after the National Duke's banquet, it was reported that Lum Tu hadn't left his house for 7 days straight, only Dai Huang went out to find food. After hearing this, Tuyen Jung's face paled slightly, but he still ordered continued surveillance. At Lum Mansion, Lum Tu was bored sitting and listening to Dai Huang's report. The master on the second floor of the tea house outside the mansion had someone watching the back door, so it was fairly safe. Lum Tu was waiting for someone from the palace. If they didn't come soon, he thought he might die right here. At that moment, footsteps echoed. The person he was waiting for finally appeared, Song Song. Song Song was surprised to see Lum Tu waiting and asked, "Are you waiting for me?" Lum Tu didn't answer, but immediately guessed, "Did the noble consort send you? The rare beast's illness flared up again, right?" Just as Lum Tu said, Song Song came because of the rare beast's illness. Lum Tu continued, "Its illness is a mental one, so how can it be cured by just one outing from the palace? Song Song admired you for being truly thoughtful and considerate. Even though it's just the illness of a spirit beast, you still put yourself in its situation to think." Feeling ashamed, Song Song was told by Lum Tu to return to the palace and wait. "Meanwhile, you have to pack up your things at the back gate of Lam Mansion." Lum Tu carefully looked around to make sure no one was following. "You trust Dai Huang because the back gate is truly as safe as he reported." Meanwhile, the watcher at the front gate waited, but only saw the dog going in and out. Dai Huang wondered silently if his master had turned into a dog too, otherwise how could he understand dog language? Lum Tu entered the palace to pay respects to his majesty and the noble consort. Upon seeing Lum Tu, the noble consort hurriedly called him over to examine the little one's condition, anxiously asking why it was so weak. His majesty, on the other hand, looked surprised and asked Lum Tu if he really understood medicine. Lum Tu humbly replied that he did not know medicine. He had only raised cats and dogs before, so he had some basic understanding of animal behavior. Hearing this, his majesty immediately asked Lum Tu to treat the noble consort's pet, and promised a generous reward if successful. To do this, Lum Tu suggested the noble consort prepare a quiet room. This request was immediately approved. As soon as he entered the room, Lum Tu gently patted the spirit beast's rear and told it to stop sleeping and wake up. Suddenly awakened, the spirit beast cried out, asking who was touching its rear. Lum Tu frankly admitted it was him. When the spirit beast realized Lum Tu could understand its language, it was surprised and asked if he could hear and talk with it. "Could it be that you are also a tiger?" At that moment, Lum Tu realized the spirit beast was actually a tiger, not a cat, as he had thought. Mistaken for a cat, the spirit beast angrily struggled and repeatedly asserted that it was Bak Lin of the noble tiger clan, not a cat. "It was the bad guys who captured me and forced me to live like a cat." Sensing the spirit beast's grievance, Lum Tu comforted it, saying he understood its feelings. "I will help you express this." The spirit beast happily asked if he was quite understanding. "So can you come visit me often?" Lum Tu agreed, but on the condition that the spirit beast obey him and act out a play together. Meanwhile, the noble consort and his majesty still stood outside the room anxiously waiting. When Lum Tu carried the spirit beast out, the noble consort quickly asked about the little one's condition. Lum Tu seriously asked what the spirit beast normally eats. A servant hurriedly replied that they always prepared the freshest fish slices, never careless. Lum Tu shook his head. The food was the main problem. Although this spirit beast looks like a cat, it is actually a tiger and does not like to eat fish. Moreover, eating the same dish repeatedly would bore anyone. The noble consort asked what it should be fed then. Lum Tu suggested she feed it chicken beef and some green vegetables. Meals should be varied to stimulate its taste buds. The noble consort immediately ordered food to be prepared. According to Lum Tu, when fed new dishes, the spirit beast was very satisfied and ate heartily. Seeing the situation stabilized, the noble consort asked Lum Tu if he wanted to stay by her side. His majesty interrupted with a smile, saying anyone was welcome, but Lum Tu was not. "I will grant him a token so he can enter the palace every other day to care for the spirit beast." Thanks to his majesty's intervention, Lum Tu avoided becoming a junior eunuch. However, the noble consort still wasn't fully reassured and asked Lum Tu if the spirit beast might get sick again. Lum Tu replied that food was only part of the cause. He had already told the noble consort about the origin of the illness before. The noble consort worriedly said she had let Lin Lung often take it outside, but it had no effect. Lam Tu suggested that if the noble consort personally took it out of the palace, things might be different. Hearing this, a guard angrily scolded Lam Tu as a troublemaker. The noble consort's body is precious. If anything happens, who will be responsible? Lam Tu quickly knelt down and accepted the blame, saying he hadn't thought it through. He begged His Majesty and the noble consort to punish him. The noble consort was very eager to go out of the palace. As soon as she said a word, His Majesty would immediately agree. Then the Lord ordered the guards and bodyguards to escort the noble consort, while carefully instructing them to act very discreetly. Do not let the conservative ministers know that the noble consort left the palace to avoid their complaints. His Majesty's gesture made Lam Tu extremely surprised. He never expected such a dignified king to be so afraid of his wife. After everything was arranged, Lam Tu asked permission to return to the mansion to prepare for the meeting with the noble consort. Half an hour later, at the entrance of Trich Nguyet Pavilion in front of Lam's mansion, the scene was as bustling as usual with a steady flow of people. Lam Tu's dog Dai Huang loyally sat there guarding the door. Upon arriving home, Lam Tu secretly called Dai Huang in to ask if the followers were still outside. As expected, they were still silently standing there, refusing to leave. This pleased Lam Tu quite a bit. A cunning smile appeared on his face as if he was ready to set a trap. After careful calculation, Lam Tu calmly stepped out of the mansion through the main gate, no longer sneaky like before. Seeing him appear, the two followers hurriedly reported to their master. Following the plan, Lam Tu and the noble consort met in front of Trich Nguyet Pavilion. The noble consort told him to just call her madam to avoid drawing attention. At this moment, she looked very happy and praised Lam Tu for being right. After taking the child out of the palace, she had become noticeably livelier. The noble consort's spirit beast also winked at Lam Tu as if asking for his opinion on its behavior. Lam Tu responded with an approving wink. Although eager to leave the palace, the noble consort really didn't know what to do. Lam Tu Ten suggested she take the spirit beast for a 1-hour stroll in the city as a casual activity to relieve her worries. The noble consort asked in surprise, "A stroll? What do you mean? I've never tried it before." Lam Tu explained that a stroll meant freely walking around the streets of the capital city. You look at whatever you want, buy whatever you want. Before long, the noble consort found something she liked, a hairpin. She exclaimed, "I have never seen jewelry like this before." The seller enthusiastically introduced, "These are the newest designs," and invited the noble consort to try them on. Within 3 seconds, she was satisfied and decided to buy it immediately. It's been a long time since the madam has been this happy, the bodyguard thought. He reassessed Lam Tu, thinking that although he was somewhat reckless, he had unintentionally done a good deed. Not stopping at the hairpin, the noble consort bought many more items to the point the bodyguard had no hands free to carry them all. When it was noon, the bodyguard suggested the noble consort have a meal at Trich Nguyet Pavilion, since he heard the food there was very delicious. The noble consort agreed immediately. However, Lam Tu had another suggestion. There's a small restaurant nearby that serves quite delicious Jiangnan dishes. Madam, would you like to try it? Hearing Jiangnan cuisine, the noble consort thought for a moment, then nodded to go to the restaurant. The bodyguard was slightly worried. A small place like that with a mixed crowd, it might not be safe. But the noble consort insisted, "No one knows my identity. We are just ordinary people coming to have a meal." At the Jiangnan restaurant, many dishes were served: salted crystal water, duck rice, field crickets, horseshoe-shaped cakes, and loofah with 100 fruit. Just one bite and the noble consort felt extremely satisfied, as if the taste of her homeland was flooding back. She intended to compare it with palace food, but quickly corrected herself. There are Jiangnan chefs at home too, but the food is served cold. It's been a long time since I've tasted this flavor. Lam Tu smiled and advised the noble consort to eat her fill. She was also very pleased with the meal, praising Lam Tu for knowing how to make others happy. Perhaps this will be a day the noble consort will always remember. But the entire event had been carefully observed and recorded by someone. In an instant, every detail was reported to Duang Tuyen. Lam Tu was sweet-talking and charming a madam on the street. That madam was not only beautiful, but also exuded a noble aura. After the meal, the two discussed going together to La Hoa Garden to enjoy some singing. Hearing this, Duang Tuyen was extremely angry and upset. He believed Lam Tu was betrothed to Lin Quan, but still dared to flirt outside. Therefore, he immediately ordered his subordinates to act. At La Hoa Garden, in a luxurious room on the second floor, Miss Tai Wai is engrossed in playing the zither and singing. I have a love song to sing for everyone to enjoy. I hope everyone will relax and listen to this gentle melody as I convey my feelings through each verse. The melody sung by Tai Wai made the noble consort realize it was a familiar folk song from Jiangnan. The noble consort hadn't returned there in over 10 years. Everything Lam Tu prepared today was related to Jiangnan. The noble consort suddenly asked, "Could it be that you already know I'm from Jiangnan?" Lam Tu nodded, admitting that when he heard the madam speak, he recognized the distinctive accent of people from Jiangnan. He boldly guessed that the madam was born and raised in that land. "Oh, really? But you grew up in the capital. How could you recognize the Jiangnan accent?" This question made Lam Tu a bit embarrassed. At first, he intended to say he had a girlfriend, but quickly changed his mind and explained that he had a friend who was also from Jiangnan, so he recognized the accent. Today, the noble consort felt Lam Tu was very thoughtful and did not hesitate to praise him. "This time, Lam Tu, you owe me a favor. What I did today was just to repay you." After Tai Wai finished the song, the noble consort complimented the song and said her spirit was much better. Lam Tu also added, "Tai Wai's singing truly stirs the heart. Whenever I'm tired or upset, I come here to enjoy her voice to ease my mood." Then the noble consort looked outside and said, "It's been quite a while," and advised Lam Tu, "You should visit the girl more often." Then the noble consort stood up to prepare to leave. Watching the noble consort's back, Lam Tu couldn't help but worry because his plan was still unfinished. He wondered why Duong Tuyen hadn't acted yet. The noble consort had been strolling on the street for over an hour. Such a good opportunity, could he really miss it? The noble consort was about to leave Lehua Garden, but Duong Tuyen still showed no sign of action. Lam Tu recalled that last time at Tuit Nging Ni's birthday party, he deliberately provoked Duong Tuyen to trigger him into action. If this plan failed, he didn't know when another chance would come. Just then, a man suddenly blocked the noble consort's way and spoke rudely. "Hey, beautiful little lady, why don't you come with me? I'm much stronger than that powdered-faced guy behind you." Seeing this man, Lam Tu felt happy. He knew the person he was waiting for had appeared, but he didn't stop there. He tried to obstruct and insult Lam Tu's frail figure, saying he couldn't bring joy to women. Immediately, Lam Tu appeared, grabbed his hand, and said, "Wait a moment." Angered by the obstruction, the man shouted, "You rotten brat, how dare you steal my woman?" As soon as he finished, Lam Tu slapped him hard. The slap was strong enough to knock his teeth out. As a result, he was beaten by Lam Tu until his face was distorted. Two accomplices behind hurried to help him up, but he rolled his eyes and collapsed on the spot. The two accomplices immediately concluded, "He's not breathing anymore. Boss is dead. He killed someone." Shortly after, the magistrate appeared asking who the culprit was. This situation made the guard fully understand the matter. Meanwhile, the noble consort was extremely shocked by the incident, but Lam Tu quietly rejoiced because everything was going according to his plan. When the magistrate arrived, the two accomplices pointed straight at Lam Tu as the culprit. The magistrate didn't ask any questions and immediately ordered someone to take Lam Tu back to the station. Despite the situation, Lam Tu remained calm. He advised the noble consort to return first because it was no longer safe outside. The incident involving Lam Tu made the noble consort very upset. She immediately ordered the guard Chu Cam to return to the palace to report to His Majesty, requesting he clear Lam Tu's name. In the palace, Chu Cam respectfully explained everything to His Majesty. The scoundrel who was with the man had used internal energy to break his blood vessels. Moreover, officials arrived right after. This showed that the plot to frame Lam Tu might involve the Dongthan police. The noble consort, though unharmed, was extremely angry. She ordered an old servant to report to His Majesty no matter what. Lam Tu's innocence must be restored. At this point, His Majesty began to suspect Lam Tu. "You think Lam Tu's innocence might not be true? Why do you think it wasn't another time, but exactly when the noble consort left the palace, that he was framed?" Although His Majesty said that Chu Kam noticed Lam Tu's condition had greatly improved, this made His Majesty admit Lam Tu's cleverness. He recalled an old incident. "Do you remember when I summoned him to the palace once? What made him arrive more than half an hour late?" Yes, Chu Cam naturally remembered clearly. That time, Lam Tu was also arrested at the East City prison, and it was a young officer who captured him. Just by saying that I summoned him to the palace, which prison would dare touch him? Hearing this, Chu Cam seemed to understand His Majesty's intention. He believed Lam Tu had planned everything in advance. From this event, His Majesty assessed that although Lam Tu appeared honest, he was actually deeply scheming. He even planned against you and the noble consort. Hearing this, Chu Cam was furious. He demanded His Majesty punish Lam Tu severely with no leniency. However, the noble consort immediately scolded Chu Cam, "You worthless dog, I want His Majesty to help clear his name." What are you saying? You all only know how to scheme against others all day. Do you think everyone is like you? The noble consort's words embarrassed his majesty as if he himself was being reprimanded. Then the noble consort turned to his majesty and said, I like him very much. You absolutely must not let him suffer injustice. Just that one sentence made his majesty flustered. He immediately ordered Chukam to send people to the East City prison to rescue Lam Tu. After the noble consort left, Chukam asked his majesty if he really would no longer punish Lam Tu. And indeed, after the noble consort's words, his majesty changed his attitude toward Lam Tu. He commented, this boy may be young but is clever beyond his years. He doesn't act like someone who relies on power or status. The most important thing is that he married the heiress of the Zhao family, so I feel very reassured. At the East City prison, Lam Tu was brought to the head of the prison, who was the father of Master Ngo, the man who had previously caused trouble with Lam Tu. He awkwardly said, young Master Lam, this case was directly overseen by Lord Chengling. I can't do otherwise. Lam Tu gave a look as if to warn him not to interfere. Understanding. He immediately clutched his stomach in pain, saying he had to rush to the restroom and suggested Lord Chengling interrogate the case himself. Then he ran away, clutching his stomach. Lord Chengling personally interrogated Lam Tu. You harmed someone in public. Do you plead guilty? Lam Tu did not answer, but instead asked, if this is a murder case, then the East City prison has no right to interrogate, right? Lord Chengling scoffed. Lam Tu, you are just a clerk in Thanlai Department. If handed over to them, who knows how they would defend you. Better let me interrogate you first, then send the files to the Ministry of Justice. That's the fair way. Lam Tu smiled. No bias. Am I guilty or not? Aren't you the one who knows best, sir? Lam Tu's words immediately made the other party furious. He shouted, impudent, the matter is as clear as day, good and evil distinguished. So many witnesses saw you harm someone, and you still dare to pretend innocence. I will use severe punishment. First the cane, then finger clamps, and finally torture until you confess. After saying this, Lord Chengling threw down the order to carry out the punishment. But before the order hit the ground, a dart suddenly appeared and sliced the order in half. The East City Lord saw this and panicked, stammering, Secret Investigation Department, you are from the Secret Investigation Department. The situation completely reversed. Lam Tu began to threaten him. Is the East City Lord really afraid now? Oppressing the common people must come with punishment one day. The matter is clear, good and evil distinguished. What crime does someone who disrespects royal law like you deserve? Lam Tu's words made Lord Chengling tremble and faint from fear right there. Even fainted, he could not escape the truth. Chu Kam ordered to revive him and continue the punishment. Thinking everything was settled, Lam Tu happily thanked Chief Chu for appearing just in time to save him. This time it was thanks to the lady protecting you. Next time, if you dare to plot against His Majesty again, I'm afraid you won't be as lucky as this time. As Chief Chu finished speaking, Lam Tu immediately realized his plan had been uncovered. Without the lady's help, you would definitely face a long prison sentence. From this incident, Lam Tu learned a lesson: you can't just focus on plucking one goat's hair. Planning twice in a row caused him to be counterattacked. At this moment, Lord Than Len had regained consciousness and was being badly beaten. Unable to bear the pain, he agreed to confess everything. After Lord Than Len confessed, Lam Tu didn't stay any longer. He asked for permission to leave, but just as he was about to go, he smelled a strong, foul odor. Lam Tu covered his nose and asked, whose dung pit is this? It turned out the bad smell was coming from Lord Than Len himself. He complained that he had been stuck in the restroom for half an hour and still couldn't escape. Seeing the scene, Lam Tu immediately spoke up to help. Chief Steward Chu said, this case has nothing to do with the Eastern City Commander. He even reminded me earlier. Hearing this, Chief Steward Chu stopped detaining the Eastern City Commander. He ordered his men to release him immediately. The Eastern City Division and the Ministry of Justice will pay special attention to this case. Lam Tu won't be able to escape this charge. After hearing this, Duong Tuyen looked satisfied, thinking everything was going according to his plan. He believed that as long as it was certain Lam Tu was guilty of harming others, the trio family would never marry Lien Quan to a criminal. At the Vin Bin Marquis residence, Duong Tuyen's father heard the news that his son was confronting the son of the Bin On Count. He immediately asked Duong Tuyen if it was true. Duong Tuyen frankly replied, Lam Tu is not worthy of Trio Lin Quan. When his father asked if Duong Tuyen himself was worthy of Trio Lin Quan, he honestly admitted he was not, and didn't even have any special skills. If she were to marry the Crown Prince or Prince Trio, he would have no objections, but marrying a worthless man like Lam Tu was unacceptable. If Duong Tuyen thought that way, he would be disappointed because his father assured him the emperor would not cancel the engagement between the Trio and Lam families. Hearing this, Duong Tuyen questioned his father why, but before he could get an answer, Chief Steward Chu appeared. Duong Tuyen's father told him to speak frankly if he had any business. This time, Chief Steward Chu didn't come alone, but brought several others. Greetings, Vin Bin Marquis. We don't mean to say the Marquis is not loyal to An Min, but young Master Duong has been somewhat poorly managed. This time, he committed a serious crime. After saying that he ordered Duong Tuyen to be arrested immediately in the Imperial Palace. When Lam Tu appeared, the spirit beast was extremely happy. It asked him why he arrived so quickly. When meeting Lam Tu, not only was the spirit beast happy, but the noble consort was also very joyful. She asked if anyone had harmed him. Lam Tu replied that everything was fine thanks to Chief Steward Chu's timely arrival. Hearing that the noble consort looked proud and challenged him to dare not obey her or she would strip him. This time Lam Tu realized the emperor already knew his plan. He decided to admit openly in hopes of mercy. Lam Tu suddenly spoke to the noble consort. This time your servant came here to apologize to your highness. His unexpected words made the noble consort quite surprised. Seeing that Lam Tu recounted the entire story from beginning to end, his story seemed so fascinating that even the spirit beast fell into a deep sleep. After listening, the noble consort did not blame Lam Tu, but instead continuously criticized Duong Tuyen. That Duong fellow always hides behind the scenes to escape responsibility. I despise sly and cunning people like him the most. After scolding Duong Tuyen, the noble consort praised Lam Tu. I never expected you to seem foolish normally, but could come up with a way to handle the Marquis's residence. Truly smart and quick-witted. Hearing this, Lam Tu commented, Your Highness also has double standards. The noble consort looked puzzled. Lam Tu explained that double standards meant when he and Duong Tuyen did the same thing she called Duong sly but praised him as smart. To the noble consort, this was completely reasonable. She believed Lam Tu treated the spirit beast and others well, so she valued him. Afterwards, the noble consort decided to recognize Lam Tu as one of Changchun Palace. She declared she would protect him so no one would bully him. After hearing this, Lam Tu whispered something to the spirit beast. Immediately it ran to the noble consort and gently kissed her cheek. The noble consort was very excited and asked Lam Tu if he told it to do that. Lam Tu smiled and replied, Your servant is capable of that. Surely it was because your highness's heavenly beauty and unmatched charm even the spirit beast couldn't resist. Lam Tu's compliment made the noble consort blush. She said, I'm old now, you don't have to say those things just to please me. Although the noble consort said that, Lam Tu continued, How is the noble consort old? When the person and Princess Manhwa stood together, anyone who didn't know might think they were sisters. Unfortunately, these words were overheard by Princess Manhwa. She sat in a corner muttering, scolding Lam Tu for being shameless and only good at flattering. Meanwhile, the noble consort was very pleased with Lam Tu's compliments. She laughed and said, It's not good if this continues, I'll get even more wrinkles. Then the noble consort declared that today was enough. I will go tell His Majesty to promote you so no one dares to bully my people anymore. The noble consort told Lam Tu to go home and visit the spirit beast when there's time. Just outside the gate, Lam Tu met Princess Manhwa. She loudly scolded him for being shameless and only good at flattering. Lam Tu pretended to be innocent and asked why the princess called her student a flatterer. Manhwa angrily asked back, What do you mean by saying the noble consort and I, standing together, look like sisters? Lam Tu honestly replied, The appearances of the princess and the noble consort do look somewhat similar. Lam Tu's words made Manhwa think because the noble consort and her father are cousins, so saying the two look alike isn't wrong. But while Manhwa was still hesitating, Lam Tu had planned to tease her. He gave a sly smile and loudly said, Little sister, the noble consort and the princess standing together really do look alike. These words were basically implying the princess is old, which made her furious. Still, Lam Tu kept teasing, sticking out his tongue, making Manhwa even angrier.